Days away from the NFL draft, the Eagles have a lot of needs. My question, which one is most important for them to hit on? Also, Phillies bounced back yesterday. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
I don't know what the Sixers' plan is, but I've said that for 2 years. The Sixers are stuck on, they're going to try to convince you that this can still be fixed. The Phillies have plenty of time to fix this.
When I say, can someone explain to me what they're doing? Like, I still think the Phillies are a playoff team, whereas I don't know the direction that the Sixers are going in.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Wednesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
And a good morning to you, my friend.
We are 8 days away from the NFL draft, a draft that I am very excited about for the Philadelphia Eagles because I have no idea the direction that they're going to go. I have feelings and beliefs because they've never really hid their feelings and beliefs come draft day, right? Especially in the first round. They believe in building through the trenches, but in a draft like this for the Eagles where they literally could go in so many different directions, whether it's trading up, trading back, staying at 32, and then, of course, the positions that they could draft. We all know about their love of the trenches, but they need a safety. They need a tight end. We talked about cornerback a little bit yesterday, and you had the Sumer Sports, Thomas Dimitroff, saying that cornerback could be the BPA, best player available, maybe around that 32nd pick yesterday. So it's exciting for me. I understand people love when the draft is a top 10 pick. I get it.
I don't, because it meant I had a crappy fall.
Unless you're the Eagles who had 2 picks in the first round.
Well, I mean, but I have a crappy fall, I don't like it. I always would rather, this would be the best scenario every year for me, where the back end of the first round.
Pick 32. That means they won the Super Bowl. Absolutely.
Or picking in the back end.
Right, I got
Meaning
you.
I had a really great year, and it's weird, though, when you start that, Nick, it's like, I hate dealing in feelings. I like dealing in beliefs, but it is hard when you deal with this. But I believe one thing, and I'm totally convinced of it. The Eagles do not draft best player available. And I can go back years now, 4 years, at least since they fixed the draft. They didn't draft best player available. They drafted need. Almost every single time they drafted a need. They drafted for a spot. And hey, they may have gotten the best player at that position.
Right.
But they didn't necessarily get the best player available. So I'm very excited to see what the Eagles do because I think they have a plan and they have an agenda.
Yeah, I mean, look, one prime example is Jordan Davis and Kyle Hamilton. Like, let's face it, Kyle Hamilton was the better player.
He was the better player, and they passed.
Because they believed in their theory of trenches. And look, this theory, this belief, this organizational strategy has worked out for them for 25 years now.
And everybody knew they were drafting a corner last year.
Yep.
Like, it was no shock. It was just a matter of which one it was going to be.
Right, exactly.
But when Quinyon Mitchell was slipping, I'm passing out.
Yeah.
Because I'm pissed that they're missing on him, and thank God they didn't.
Totally worked out. Now, this year, it's not obvious. So, yesterday, when we were on the show, this was kind of a conversation where we spent a few minutes on, and then we ended up moving on. But I would like to really dive deeper into it today, and I want the audience involved at 610-632-0975. We know that they have a lot of areas that they do need to address. Think about the players that have parted ways, whether the Eagles just released them, traded them, or they were free agents and they signed deals elsewhere. You need an edge rusher.
Yep.
You need a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
You need a tight end.
Yeah.
You could have
made you don't necessarily need a tight end, but we assume that they do.
Correct. I'll say they need a tight end.
We assume that they do.
Cornerback is a area where you might want to look. I wasn't feeling the same way Connor did yesterday, which we'll get to. But there are a lot of areas of need for the Eagles because they lost key players. So think about this for a second. Think about the players that they lost, the impact that they made, and how important it will be to not lose too much, right? Because there's going to be a fall off from maybe Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to a potential rookie safety, just because it's year one.
Now,
right?
Is this Chauncey Gardner-Johnson after Thanksgiving or before Thanksgiving? Because last year he was the worst player on their defense.
For the first half of the season.
Like 11 games into the year, he was the worst player on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, totally
Then he
understand.
stepped up again.
Right.
Stepped up again and did his job.
And they ended up winning the Super Bowl. He's a big part of it. So, what position is most important for the Eagles to hit on in this specific draft, in your opinion, John Kincade?
I don't even think it's close. They got to have somebody riding shotgun to Jalen Carter. They got to have a defense. They have to find a way to replace Milton Williams.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, it's so obvious by the way that they've built their team and what they've always preached. It would be a curveball if they did anything different. And that's where I've been trying to talk myself out of the best player available stuff.
Right.
Best player available is the Eagles are going to draft for need.
Yeah, and look,
what
this is the big defensive tackle draft. So, again, signs point to that. They need a replacement to Milton Williams, right? I'm not ready to be like, here you go, Moro Ojomo.
No.
You know, that's 48% of the snaps because Jordan Davis is not a full-time player. So, you look at the player they lost in Milton Williams. You look at the depth at that position right now. It needs to be added to. You look at the depth of this draft when it comes to that position. And then, oh, by the way, when it goes back to beliefs and feels, this is what the organization believes in. The organization believes in drafting in the trenches, defensive line. Now, that also means edge rushers. And if you look over the 14 years of Howie Roseman drafting, we went through this on NBC Sports Philadelphia the other day, edge rusher has still been the number one position that Howie Roseman has targeted over the last 14 years. But this time around, to me, all signs point to defensive tackle. And I agree with you. I believe that's the most important position where they need to hit on when it comes to this specific draft because it also goes to how they coach. Look at what Vic Fangio was able to do with young kids at the edge rusher position. Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith. They played well, but it all starts on the inside, and it's not just Jalen Carter because Jalen Carter's going to get double-teamed, sometimes triple-teamed. So that other guy next to him, the guy riding shotgun, to your point, needs to be able to be an impactful player.
I just want them to not use one word, and I'm not an anti-environmentalist.
Okay.
I even bought one of these myself earlier this year. I don't want to hear hybrid.
Okay, fair.
And there's a couple guys that I heard being discussed yesterday on NFL Live, and they're talking about players. Oh, boy, wouldn't Vic Fangio or a couple other defense coordinators love to get their hands on this kid? He's a hybrid type. I don't want to hear hybrid first or second night. I really don't.
Now,
I don't like hybrid.
you could make the case that Cooper DeJean is technically a hybrid player, even though the song says he's not a safety.
You can.
But you could
No, you
technically
can.
make the case, slot corner, outside corner, and, of course, safety.
Cooper DeJean is not a safety.
I don't consider anybody being a slot corner and a corner as a hybrid player.
I got you,
just
but
where
there
they
is a
decide.
craft,
It's
man.
There are many guys who play slot corner until they can get a corner spot or anything like that. The idea of Cooper DeJean as a safety, I'm not into.
Right.
That's not what I want them to do, and I don't think they are either.
Yeah, I don't think
But
so either.
I just don't want to hear hybrid, and it seems to be the new buzz term.
Yeah.
Well, he's a linebacker, but he's really a hybrid type defensive end.
Yeah, because he can rush the passer and he can drop into coverage. I get it.
I want to know what we're buying
Connor,
right off the shelf.
who do you believe, or excuse me, what position do you believe is the most important for the Eagles to hit on? I'm not even asking for names, right? Like, you saw what they had last year. You saw what they lost from last year. What position do you believe they need to target and hit on for you to feel comfortable going into the season?
Yeah, you guys are probably right with interior defensive line, but for the sake of the conversation, I'm going to throw my hat in the safety ring. I really think that part of where the defense turned was not just, bye week and everything got right on the offense and defensive side of the ball. They were good early overall, but Chauncey Gardner-Johnson becoming a usable defensive player and then becoming a great, once again, defensive player were kind of where you saw the Eagles defense take big steps. And we know that Vic Fangio has talked about how important that position is in his style of defense. I like Reed Blankenship as a 2. I haven't seen the Eagles do anything in free agency at the safety position. I think it's very important to have like a young player at that position that could grow with this defense for the next 4 or 5 years. So that's why safety, I'm going to put that as just kind of my counter to your interior defensive line argument because everything you guys said is smart.
But if you're stacking, Connor, importance of players on defense in modern day football, isn't the safety like pretty much bottom of the food chain, or not? In your opinion,
towards the bottom.
I think it's near the bottom
But
of
if
every
you have
team
a
shopping.
good safety,
Oh, no, I get it.
It's noticeable.
And Fangio loves them.
I remember them saying that the reason that they went with Jordan Davis is because safety can be a bit of a luxury item. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
I don't think it
Well,
would have
that was
been.
also in the day where they didn't care about linebackers.
Yeah, that's the truth, too.
Sometimes people learn.
See, there's different answers. Sort of different answers.
Like the league
from
can
three of
learn that
us.
running backs are important too.
That's nice.
So coming up next, speaking of the trenches. Yesterday, Howie Roseman spoke on the importance of the defensive tackle position. You'll hear from the Eagles GM ahead of the Big D tackle draft. And of course, we want to hear from you. What position is most important for the Eagles to hit on in this specific draft? You can text in at 610-632-0975. It is Kincade and Salciunas on this Wednesday morning, 8 days till the NFL draft here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
The NFL draft is right around the corner. What will the Eagles do?
8:15 here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. What position is most important for the Eagles to hit on in this specific draft?
Now, does this mean, too, for some clarity here, because AJ wants to know,
Sure.
are we talking about long-term hit on or this year hit on to repeat and be Super Bowl champ?
Well, I mean, obviously long term, but right now, you need it. Like, if Milton Williams, and we're talking about D tackle,
Sure.
right?
That's what I believe.
If there's a fall off, like a major fall off, this defense is not the number one ranked defense in the NFL.
Do you think Milton Williams, if you were to say, and I don't want to take away from Milton Williams, he had a great year, but was Milton Williams a product of Jalen Carter?
Oh, he absolutely
was Jalen Carter partly a product of Milton Williams?
No, because Jalen Carter was also a beast when Jordan Davis was on the field.
That's what I say.
No, but Milton Williams, I hope, gave a thank you card to Jalen Carter with a couple dollars in it.
I would hope so.
Because the $100 million contract that Milton Williams got, completely overpaid, even though, hey, go, I'm happy for you.
Yeah, I'm happy for him too, but
It was all because of Jalen Carter. But the thing is, we have seen you could have a great 1D tackle and then the next guy stink. And if the next guy stinks, he might still be able to get to the quarterback every once in a while, but if he's not getting the job done, he's not getting the job done. Milton Williams did. I mean, we've seen edge rushers not be great despite the rest of the line being good. Look at Bryce Huff. I mean, Bryce Huff played on the same defensive line that everyone else played on, and they were the number one ranked defense, and he became unplayable to the point where they didn't dress him in the Super Bowl.
you know how critical it is for him to turn this around?
May not even be here.
He may not be here, but then you have to have gone and gotten a veteran or two.
Right, absolutely.
Because I'm telling you right now, what a dog contract that is.
But let's look at immediate impact, right? You guys are Super Bowl or bust people, right? Like,
Yes, I
then
am.
No,
Absolutely.
everybody but you is.
So then it has to be immediate impact.
Everybody is not going to be happy with just getting to the NFC title game.
Well, if you don't have any immediate impact players, you're not going to get there.
Yeah, you're right.
So Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni kind of spoke to the media yesterday.
Yeah,
We actually do have a Nick Sirianni clip to play for you the next segment.
Why did they even bring Nick out there for that?
It's the same,
all fertilize.
It's the same with Nick Nurse and Daryl Moore the other day.
It's so heavy.
Nick Nurse had like 3 answers. The rest was Daryl Morey.
Heavy's, Howie's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But it seems so heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Like sit in the corner here and smile and
well,
nod.
it should.
Well,
be.
no, the questions are addressed to Howie because they don't
No, I
get to
got
talk to
you.
him as much as they get to talk
Yeah,
to
but I
Nick.
bet you the coach would clearly want to discuss things on his defense that he'd like to see addressed.
His defense?
Yes, I know.
His defense?
Hey.
Are we still doing this?
I know.
There's only one man who runs this defense, and it's Vic Fangio. Howie Roseman yesterday, obviously, everybody knows about the trenches. Everybody knows that this is a big defensive tackle draft class. Here's Howie Roseman talking about that position.
Been here long enough to been around a bunch of first-round picks in Philadelphia, defensive tackles, and obviously interior pass rush is a huge deal in the National Football League. You know, getting quick pressure on quarterbacks is a huge deal, and I think you've seen our resources shift that way a little bit here in the last few years because that's the quickest way to really get pressure, and you want both. We've been fortunate to have both for a long period of time, but you got to continue to refresh those positions and continue to build depths along both your lines. So I think for us, we feel like having good players at those positions, and obviously we have a bunch returning on our roster that we're excited about, but those are huge spots for us to continue to grow, and the best place to find them is in the draft. Those markets are expensive when you get into free agency.
Now, there's a lot of clips from Howie. He did not talk about a position as glowingly as he did defensive tackle yesterday.
I expected nothing less. When I went back and was checking these out, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I expected nothing less.
Look, they're going to target defensive tackle early. They're going to. It's what they believe in, and it's what's worked. So I don't see why they shouldn't do that.
No, I'm fine with it.
So be prepared, defensive tackle. Now the question is it at 32? Is it earlier? Is it later? Got a lot of stuff for you about the draft on hand today. Coming up next, we'll shift our focus to another position. None of us mentioned it. Tight end. Do they draft a replacement to Dallas Goedert? Johnny has a report on Dallas Goedert that we can give you coming up next. And Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni spoke about the importance of the tight end position. Hear that next. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatics Sports Update.
The Phillies bounce back. I'm Connor Thomas. The Phillies took down the Giants 6-4 last night behind home runs from JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper. Alec Boehm also had a big RBI single to put the Phils ahead in the 6th inning. Game 3 of the 4-game series is tonight at 6:45. Robbie Ray will be on the mound for San Fran. Aaron Nola takes the bump for your Phils. Howie Roseman met with the media yesterday to preview the upcoming NFL draft, and he talked about being aggressive, something that he has become known for in his time with the Birds.
For me, I think that being aggressive has always been part of my DNA, and feel fortunate that I have the people around me who support that. It allows us to take chances and to try to be aggressive.
We'll see what aggressive moves they have in store for next Thursday when the NFL draft starts. The Flyers fell to the Blue Jackets 3-0 last night. They'll play their last game of the season tomorrow in Buffalo. And we have a packed show here on Kincade Salciunas. Adam Schefter of ESPN joins us at 7:55. Amy Fadul will join us for the entire 9 o'clock hour. And Tim Kurkjian will join the boys to talk some baseball coming up at 9:10. This update's brought to you by AAA Car Care. Come into your local AAA Car Care Center this month and buy 3 select tires. You'll get the 4th tire free. Plus a free alignment. Restrictions apply. See store for details. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best draft coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Fanatic Weekend with
Fanatic. We got a very, very busy day ahead on the show. So for our 6 o'clock hour audience, take note. We got Adam Schefter, as we always do, Wednesdays at 7:55. Amy Fadul, she could not do the hour yesterday, so she will be in studio for the 9 o'clock hour today. And during the 9 o'clock hour at 9:10, we'll speak to our buddy Tim Kurkjian about the Philadelphia Phillies, who we will get into in the 7 o'clock hour.
I talked to his
bounce back
spawn
win
yesterday.
Oh, yes.
I saw his spawn.
From down the hall.
And now they've, he's on that Candy Winters show on the country station.
Yeah.
That Candy Winters is a powerhouse.
Damn right she is.
She wins like the Country Music Awards every year.
Yeah.
Right down there near Peter and Stan.
She does.
Man, she's unbelievable.
She really is.
She is a powerhouse.
So we'll get into the Phillies in the 7 o'clock hour, too, before we talk to Timmy at 9:10 today.
And I saw Amy on TV last night. Did you see it?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Sitting in the stands.
It was great.
That looked like first row, too. Like some good seats.
I think she's got some connects.
Now, it was upstairs. And you turned me on to that.
Hell yeah, man.
I absolutely. My daughter and I are going to go to another game this summer, just a dad-daughter pal-around thing, and we're going to sit upstairs.
Section 420, man, my favorite section in the building.
We enjoyed it. Well, that doesn't shock me.
You smoke weed, man.
That doesn't shock me. How are we going to merge all the 420 folks that want to celebrate with Easter? Easter Sunday.
I could say something so sacrilegious, but I don't want to do it.
Now, I know what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to have to go take the walk, before Easter dinner.
Yeah. Or you get a cool priest. What's the thing with the smoke?
The incense?
Yeah. You put something else
I don't
in
think
there.
Father Riley's doing that.
And you walk up and down the halls in between, between the pews.
I don't think Father Riley's doing that, but he may get a little more in the collection plate if he did.
Hot box the chapel like Jesus wanted, baby.
I don't think he'd do that.
There is a way to make both happen.
Well, I guarantee it both happen. I guarantee it.
I wait till nighttime. Show some respect during the day.
Please.
All right, so tight end is going to be a position they have to address at some point in this draft. Doesn't mean that it has to be with pick 32, but if you listen to our man Andrew DeCecco, there's going to be two tight ends that are off the board pretty early, and then like sort of that late first round, late second round window is when you could see a couple more come off the board. And then as all drafts go, third round kind of falls off,
Absolutely.
Fourth round it kind of falls off, depending on the position, right? Like running back, you'll still see top running backs going off the board in the third and fourth round because teams don't target them as early as they used to.
Or will teams maybe adjust because of Saquon Barkley and his impact?
Could absolutely. I mean, we'll see Ashton Genty probably off the board, and, in the first half of the first round as well. Before we talk about the tight end prospects, because Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman did yesterday, you saw a report from one Jordan Renan. Is that correct?
Yeah, Jordan Renan this morning saying that his sources tell him that the Giants have contacted the Eagles about potentially acquiring Dallas Goedert.
Contacted.
That they initiated seeing about the availability of Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
So I ask you, borderline devastated, Andrew, would you be freaked out if Dallas Goedert became a Giant?
I would not like seeing him against the Eagles twice a year.
Okay,
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I didn't phrase it, though, as, are you worried that the Giants are going to jump the Eagles?
No. When I see Dallas Goedert, I think about the impact that he can make with this team. I'm not worried about the Giants at all. I'm not saying for Dallas Goedert. Like the New York Giants as a football team.
I'm not worried about them right now.
Do not scare me. So Dallas Goedert going there, I don't think he's going to all of a sudden help them win 12 games this year. But could I see him having sort of that Zach Ertz impact role where you're going, oh, man, this guy's still got something left in his tank.
And remember,
by the way, Ertz hurt the Eagles at times last year.
I remember they have Harry Hart on a quarterback now. So they're going to have a veteran quarterback
who likes his tight ends.
Loves tight ends.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, not afraid to go to the tight end.
No, he loves it.
That was Dallas Goedert props. As long as he's on the field, will be a big part of the betting this year, maybe.
Look, I'd be
the Giants.
I want Dallas Goedert to have the best in life. I mean, he's a champion here forever and all about it. But I can't pay him what they would have had to pay him to keep him.
No, I understand.
And I don't want to extend him.
I was hoping for a restructured contract where they extend it by a year, but it's really just a 1-year deal. They make some of the money work up front for the guy so that he's happy that way. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case.
And Dallas being a Giant, there'd be something that would be odd about that to me. Seeing that would be a little bit odd.
Zach Ertz, a
Yep.
commander, right? Like
Right.
it's kind of weird that the long-term tight ends of the Philadelphia Eagles are doing the NFC East tour.
I think the Eagles would be thrilled to go get themselves a young, dynamic tight end.
By the way, yesterday when Jeff McClain you asked him about the Brandon Graham decision. He mentioned Brent Selleck.
Yes.
There was one team that called Brent Selleck, and I know that because he said it on middays.
Did he?
I believe I was with Mertitas and Mays at the time.
Okay. How did you get anything done? Mertitas and Mays must have been a hell of a lot of fun.
It was a lot.
Must have been a lot. Must have been a lot of fun. But dude,
it was a lot
that's
of fun.
That's like herding cats.
So I booked them Brent Selleck because look, he retired, so it's good to have him on. And one team called him, and it was the Cowboys.
Oh boy.
And he refused to sign because he didn't want to go to Dallas, which I respect.
Well, Brent also knew. I live near his in-laws and see Brent go around the neighborhood sometimes. He also, though, he knew he was going to be a powerhouse in the real estate industry.
Oh, of course, that's why.
So he wanted to get on with building an empire.
Yeah, that's why
he wanted to build an
retired.
empire. You know what? I respect the hell out of that. That makes me love Brent Selleck and his legacy even more.
Hell yeah, man!
That he had an opportunity to go grab a late payday.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys will just go, hey, I'll go grab the payday. He didn't. That makes me feel really good.
I loved it, man.
More reason to love Brent Selleck. Folks.
Hell yeah, man. All right, here is Nick Sirianni in one of his very few clips from yesterday's press conference because
they let him talk?
It was the Howie Roseman show. Here's Sirianni talking about the tight ends.
As far as just the tight end itself, you're always looking for, it's kind of like the receiver room. You don't have to have one guy that fits all, right? You can use different pieces of a guy to help accomplish the job, whether that is in the pass game with speed or change of direction or the ability with the ball in his hand. So again, you're just trying to fill all the spots you would use for a tight end, but then sometimes you get a tight end that is unique and you haven't used certain things with that tight end before, but you're like, well, this guy can do some receiver stuff or running back stuff or whatever it is. Naturally, I always will start with their targets and the things that, the balls that went their way throughout a game, and you're always looking for, anytime I'm writing reports, it feels like I say big, strong, fast, physical, tough usually succeeds. And that's pretty much the case with every position. But always looking for a guy that can make plays with the ball in his hand and then be a factor in the run game and helping you out in the run game, which is one of the harder matchups in the NFL, right? A defensive end versus a tight end, and then not a liability in the run game also.
Now, to that point, when I hear that, it makes me think they want the unique tight end, the guy that can do it all. But if you do look back in Eagles history, one of the more, talented and celebrated tight ends, we just mentioned him, Zach Ertz, he wasn't good at blocking.
No, he was not.
And, oh, by the way, with the ball in his hands, we didn't see much. There's a reason why they would call him No Yak Zach, right? So, and he was still goes down as Eagle Wall of Famer, or Ring of Honor, down the road one day. Brent Selleck was actually a decent receiving tight end. It's just we think of him more as that physical brute tight end, but he was pretty good with the ball in his hands too.
Well, he allowed them with Brent Selleck. It allowed them to do so much more in the passing game,
right?
And for their quarterback to feel comfortable,
right? Exactly, because he could do a little bit of both. Dallas Goedert was really the full package. It's just the health was a big part of it. I would think the Eagles would want a dynamic tight end, but if they do get a just pass-catching tight end,
not good enough.
We saw it with Zach Ertz. They won a Super Bowl with him.
When are you talking? Zach Ertz wasn't just a normal tight end. Zach Ertz was a 111 catch tight end. Zach Ertz.
I'm saying if their forte is just catching the football.
Yeah, but I mean,
they still won a Super Bowl.
But are you talking about a guy who is going to be a dynamic force in the passing game?
Yeah, it would have to be a dynamic force,
because I don't
believe, average force.
And this is me, and you two may disagree.
Now that's Grant Calcaterra.
You may disagree with me, but I don't believe at any time in his Eagle career Dallas Goedert was a dynamic force in the passing game.
I think he could have been.
Could have been. He never was.
Yeah, I don't think he was asked to be because Zach Ertz never had wide receivers on the outside.
Right,
exactly. That's a big part of it.
Like, people ripped Carson Wentz for only throwing to Ertz. Who'd you want him to throw to?
Paul Turner was open.
Like, get the hell out of here.
Oh, my gosh.
Deontay Burnett. Like,
that was malpractice.
Who did you want him to throw? Oh, all he does is target Ertz. Duh.
So would I.
He's throwing to guys with no hands. All right, coming up next, we'll check our text line for the first time this morning, but also Howie Roseman spoke on the tight end, so you'll hear from the GM about that topic. Which position do you believe is most important for the Eagles to hit on in this specific draft? Immediate impact. Because let's face it, you guys are all Super Bowl or bust. That means they got to get good players.
Most men are.
It's Kincade Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
We want to hear from you.
So text us at 610- It's 97.5 The Fanatic. You're going to hear from Howie Roseman here momentarily on the tight end position, because if you go down memory lane, the Eagles have been very comfortable there, very safe there for many years. You know, think about the last time the Eagles had a bad tight end, like a tight end one, right? It's been very good for a long time, and that's why I was surprised they didn't target it last year. That's part of my feelings where I'm upset that Dallas Goedert could be gone this year, that you're going to rely on a rookie, most likely, to be his replacement, where in years past they have thought steps down the road, right? Brent Selleck, you had Zach Ertz waiting in the wing. Zach Ertz, you had Dallas Goedert waiting in the wing. Now it's who?
Who?
right? Like, I like Grant Calcaterra for his role.
Yes.
I'm not ready to say he'll be able to replace Dallas Goedert as the tight end 1. But real quick, we'll get into the Phillies to start the 7 o'clock hour. Quick little baseball note for you, John.
Uh-oh.
And this is, look, I love my partner over here, right?
Okay.
So I will do whatever I can to make you feel better about cases that you are trying to make.
Okay.
There is a Twitter account called Umpire Auditor.
Yes.
Basically,
I've seen this. It's come up on my feed, and I've never. I need to follow it.
they basically point out whenever an umpire makes a bad call. So yesterday, according to the box, the strike zone box, right?
Right.
Umpires incorrectly called a ball on what would have been strike 3 28 times yesterday in Major League Baseball.
It's freaking terrible. It's terrible.
In those 28 at-bats, right? So this wasn't just the Phillies. This is all over Major League
Sure.
Baseball. 10 of those eventually led to walks, 3 to singles, and 1 a double. So 14
They changed
of
the
the
game.
28. Half, 50% of those missed calls led to the batter getting on base at some point. It could have been a 3-2 count that turned into ball 4, whatever. But 14 of the 28 at-bats that had a 2-strike count and the call was incorrect led to something.
This is where all you and Connor, you fall into this. I know, Andrew, you sort of fall into this. You want the challenge.
Absolutely.
It's freaking ridiculous. We would be challenging. Now, I saw that, and they talked about it a little bit on the Phillies broadcast the other day on the radio side. The average game, they'd be challenging like 11 times. It'd be like
Right.
constant.
By the way, did you see Bohm yesterday?
Yeah.
Bohm mocked the umpire. He
mocked the umpire.
He did the tap. That could have been.
By the way,
You
don't
could get tossed for that.
By the way, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. And it's good to see Alec have a little help that night.
Yes. Yeah, look, he had a nice night.
RBI single, baby.
Nice night yesterday.
Yeah, I got an email when we have our Phillies conversation earlier. The stupidest email I've gotten today.
Already?
I will just share with you. Yes.
Oh, well-
No. I got it last night during the game.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, man, we haven't reached 7 o'clock hour.
Now,
You're
the
already
thing
saying
is,
it's the
though-
dumbest you could get?
Now, the reason I said the stupidest, and I don't like to use that term because I don't want to call anybody stupid, is the gentleman in his email says, you're going to consider this the stupidest email you get.
Well, then he said it.
So he
it's
said it,
allowed.
so I'm just
Yeah.
using it. And by the way, he's a big fan of the show, so he does not mind if we...
Well, then he's not a stupid person at all.
No,
I was
he's
going
not.
to say that's our target demographic.
Damn right,
Well,
man.
believe me. Yes.
All right, here was Howie Roseman yesterday speaking to the media about the importance of the tight end position in Philadelphia.
I think for us, been very fortunate to have the caliber of tight end play that we've had here. When I first became GM, Brent Selleck, obviously unbelievable player. Then to Zach Ertz, then to Dallas Goedert, 3 really unbelievable players and people that we've had here. So we've been very fortunate with the caliber of tight end play. I mean, you mentioned Grant, and obviously we all see the strides that he took last year as well. And so it's got to be based on the board that we have and the value in the draft. And, we'll stack it based on not needs, but based on the value of the players in this draft and this class. And, certainly when we talk about how the class looks, it all depends on who's there when you're picking. So we've been in situations where we think it's a really good class at a certain position. And then, when we're picking, it just hasn't worked out that the caliber players met the value of the pick.
Howie's fibbing, though. He's fibbing to us there a little bit. They've drafted for need over and over again. Since they've become a good drafting team, they've drafted for need constant.
Yeah, but I guess one of the things he could be saying is, hey, our 2nd-round pick, there's a tight end on the board, but we don't think he's good enough at this spot of the draft.
Yeah, that could be correct.
So we'll draft
correct.
edge rusher with this pick. And then maybe there is our 3rd-round draft pick. We think at that point there's a tight end that should have been drafted a little bit earlier that's still on the board.
Okay, then that could be. Yeah, if you take it that way, that absolutely could be true.
I mean, look, I'm a draft football guy.
I'm just looking at it as don't give me this. You don't draft for need,
right?
Because this team drafts for need.
Yeah, I think he's just saying it doesn't run the creation of their board.
It might, though, Connor. What he also could mean is that maybe he's saying we know what we need, but we're not going to sit in the spot where we are in the draft and take a guy just because we'll move.
Right.
It might be.
We'll move up. We'll move down.
It might be that when they move, that's the indication that we know we have a need, and then we're going to do that.
And we want
Totally
to address it.
That
Yep.
could be.
All right. Our question today. What position is most important for the Eagles to hit on in this draft, considering the players that have left and considering all you Super Bowl or bust people out there?
You mean the
that
men.
means they need to make an immediate impact.
We're big with
There's
men.
probably women that are Super Bowl or
I
bust
understand,
too.
and there are. We're big with men. We've a lot of men listeners, which is great.
What do we have on the text line this morning?
All right, we'll start off with Joe, and he says regarding the Eagles draft, and this is Joe the Cynic, I think their defensive need is more than a position. It's attitude and future leader to head this defense.
Okay, now who's the... Okay, I'm just being honest with you. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Milt Williams, now Darius Slay. He's the only one that I checked the box of defensive leader.
Not the only one. Brandon Graham.
Oh, Brandon Graham, yes, but Brandon Graham more... I would say more...
Off the field than on.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so I get that. But I don't draft for that because I'm drafting a 22-year-old or a 23-year-old or a 21-year-old.
Now, the Eagles do have beliefs in the type of person they want to draft.
Sure, they
right?
do.
Like Howie straight up said.
Like,
if you have any sort of violence against women, right, you're off the board, right? Like, they do believe in culture. Look, at this point, Nick Sirianni's, like, biggest role as the head coach is setting and continuing a good culture here in Philadelphia. He's not calling plays offensively. He's not calling plays defensively. He's part of the game planning, obviously.
Can I ask you this, though? And I get that. Where'd that culture go in 23? Culture's such a nebulous term.
Oh, it is.
Because you had Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, two of the greatest names in Eagle history. And that team was rudderless in leadership.
And one of the
and culture.
One of the reports was that maybe the young dogs, I'm not saying the Georgia Bulldog, the younger players were not listening to some of the older players.
By the way, I believe that to be true.
Which, by the way, I find that to be wrong to do, right? Like, they do have a ring, right? Like, this is how I got this. So fall in line a little bit, but they may have thought, your messaging just doesn't cut it anymore.
And then
again,
Vic Fangio comes in.
Well, and I was about to say, you look at what Vic Fangio did in Miami 2 years ago. Oh, this doesn't work anymore with today's players. And then he just goes to the right locker room with the right players, and his messaging works to the tune of the number one ranked defense. And now Jalen Ramsey and the Miami Dolphins are going to find a way to move on.
Yeah,
amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing.
Sometimes the old way is still good, Johnny.
It
Yeah,
is.
Vic won that breakup.
Damn right he did.
Oh, he certainly did.
Yeah, he outkicked his coverage, the Philadelphia Eagles. Or maybe the Eagles outkicked their coverage with him. Who knows?
I think it's a beautiful fit.
They're perfect marriage.
Both times.
All right, coming up next, we'll
They
reset.
both swiped right.
We'll reset today's topic. We'll check a couple more text messages. And the Phillies won last night. So we'll react to some of the game in the 7 o'clock hour. And even though they won, I'm not afraid to call out nonsense. It is Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Being aggressive in the draft. I'm Connor Thomas, and that's something that we've seen from Howie Roseman during his time as the Philadelphia Eagles GM. Well, Howie met with media yesterday to preview the upcoming NFL draft, and he talked about that aggressive nature and what it could affect this time around.
For me, I think that being aggressive has always been part of my DNA, and feel fortunate that I have the people around me who support that. It allows us to take chances and to try to be aggressive.
We'll see what those chances are in this year's NFL draft, which begins next Thursday. The Phillies took down the Giants 6-4 last night behind home runs from JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper. Alec Boehm also had a big RBI single to put the Phils ahead in the 6th inning. Game 3 of that 4-game series is tonight at 6:45. Robbie Ray on the mound for San Fran, Aaron Nola on the mound for the Phillies. The Flyers fell to the Blue Jackets 3-0 last night. They're going to play their last game of the season tomorrow in Buffalo. We got a busy day with guests. Adam Schefter of ESPN at 7:55. Amy Padula for the entire 9 o'clock hour. And Tim Kurkjian talking some hardball at 9:10. This update's brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best draft coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Vacation? Business trip? Don't worry.
fanatic. We'll get into the Phillies here in a few minutes. But we'll check our text messages. Let's play the Howie Roseman clip. Obviously, tight end is a position that we're going to keep a close eye on during this upcoming NFL draft because Dallas Goedert seems to be gone, right? Like, it just kind of seems like that's going to happen at this point.
That's what it seems like.
Like a 1% chance, I feel, at this point of him coming back. 99% chance that he's gone. Here was Howie. Oh, no, we already played the clip, didn't we?
It's more telegraphed.
Oh, my God.
It's more.
What's wrong with my brain?
It is more telegraphed. This Dallas Goedert decision is more telegraphed than what we've seen some of the other teams do in town. Like who they want to trade in the offseason, like Alec Boehm.
Right, exactly. All right, let's check our text message. I'm sorry, Connor. That was a brain fart on my point.
It's okay. Allergy season. It's getting to all of us.
On your point?
All right, listen, dude. I'm having a rough day. All right?
I'm telling you.
6:55 in the morning.
Hoping you're okay here.
No, Cooper was a mess last night.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my God.
Blame the kid, Connor.
Always.
He's blaming the kid.
That's why you have a kid. To blame him for
kid
stuff.
card always works, man. This kid does not want to go to sleep.
My kid goes through life. She can blame me. So she's got that in her back pocket.
Our question today, as we reset the show, what position is most important for the Eagles to hit on in this specific draft for an immediate impact this upcoming season? You and I both went defensive tackle. Connor went with safety. You could make the case for tight end. You also talked about it yesterday, Connor, cornerback. Not that I think they're going first-round corner at all.
I don't either.
But to your point,
there's value there.
You lost Slay. You lost Isaiah Rodgers, who you thought would be the replacement to Slay, and now you're going to rely on Keely Ringo or even NBC Sports Philadelphia. I think it was Ruben Frank the other day wrote about, hey, don't forget Eli Ricks is around too, which, hey, that guy's been a part of the team for a couple of years now. Both of them was under a year of Vic Fangio's system. I believe they were both here in 2022, right, when Vic was like the senior advisor of the defense. So these guys have been able to learn under Vic Fangio a couple of times. But I'm not ready to just say, yeah, they'll be fine.
Because we don't know. All you could do is be wishing and hoping that they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
About that.
Like when I've seen tweets of, oh, he's been in the incubator, ready to go.
What?
Like, how do you know that? Like,
well, you don't.
I understand he's made some plays in garbage time, but that does not mean that he's either Eli Ricks or Keely Ringo are ready to go up against maybe the number one wide receiver on an opposing team.
Yeah, you don't know it. You're absolutely right. But how much has Vic Fangio in a year become what Jeff Stoutland has been for a decade? Like, I'm not saying they're the same guy, but I'm curious where this fan base looks at those guys. And anybody you get on the offensive line, you look at Jeff Stoutland and say, he's going to make him better.
I don't look at Vic the same way.
Okay.
Just because there has not been the track record. Many coordinators can have a great year. He had a historic year. I personally think we're going to see a good product continue, but I don't put him in Stoutland yet. There's no Fangio University yet.
Right.
It's more like a community college.
That's fine. Hey, community college is great for some people.
It absolutely
It is. D3 is great for some people.
It absolutely is. All right, give us a couple text messages here, Connor.
All right, we have a check-in on the Eagles conversation. This texter says, edge rusher. Whether you trade for a guy like Trayvon Walker or draft a guy, you need a legit edge more than anything else. Trenches are why you've been to the Super Bowl twice in 3 years.
The only thing is if you got Trayvon Walker, you can exercise the fifth-year option. It would be 2 years of Trayvon Walker. I don't understand, though, how that fixes we're going to have to spend so much money on the defensive side of the ball coming up.
Well, it's a stopgap.
It makes it much worse. It makes it a much worse situation.
You just choose not to pay the guy, and then you draft somebody next year. I
think because of how cheap he is, it's also going to cost you a lot more draft capital.
Yeah, I got you.
You know, and do you want to do that? Now, the only thing I'll go against that texter's point, like I value edge rushers high as well, and so does the rest of the NFL. But the defensive tackle position, what we've seen in recent years in the NFL, that's been the big area where if you have good pass rush up the middle, any quarterback hates it. Look at the Super Bowl. Baby GOAT, Patrick Mahomes, had a horrible day.
Wait a minute. How much, if you look at all the games until the Eagles secondary had their problems with their temper in the game in Washington, Jaden Daniels had a real problem with the up the middle pressure.
Right. So I get why that person, our texter, would say edge rusher, but if you're not creating that pressure up the middle, and Jalen Carter can only do so much when he is double teamed, sometimes triple teamed, depending on what the running back's doing. look, your other guy, your Milton Williams, or this year's Milton Williams, needs to be able to make an impact. And what you saw 2 years ago was Fletcher Cox still playing at a very high level.
Maybe a higher level than he'd played in 2 years.
Yeah, maybe.
And then he retired.
But I'm not ready to just say Moro Ojomo will be just as good as those two players just sliding in because he's next to Jalen Carter. I'm not ready to say that.
ready to
Now,
go there
I'm
yet.
excited for him, but not there yet.
But our boy Andrew DeCecco, who joins us for 2 hours tomorrow morning.
Can't wait.
He may tell us that he thinks Jomo is ready to take a gigantic leap. I think he may tell us.
Yeah, but is that gigantic leap more impactful in the X amount of percentage snaps that he plays, or are we talking leap like he is this year's Milton Williams?
I don't know.
Because Milton Williams played 48, as Andrew DeCecco keeps on telling us, 48% of the snaps.
Correct.
Yeah, and he was impactful. Now, something you got to think about, and I'm not saying this is the strategy, because you want to add depth and you want to have another guy to help Jalen Carter out. But who's the other great defensive tackle that played alongside Aaron Donald? They had other good defensive players. But if Jalen Carter really is as good as we think he is, I'm not saying you just neglect the position because you have him, but you might be able to get away with it. He may just be able to beat double teams.
He did beat double teams. Connor, I believe Pro Football Focus will tell you he beat the most double teams.
Yeah, he's a monster. So you don't neglect the position, but if they do not do as much as we think, I don't know if it's panic button buzzers going off. He may just be a monster that gets to the quarterback either way, even if you put 5 guys on him.
Could be. No, absolutely could be. And he will. No, he will be. I'll tell you that. He will be. Not a could be. Will be. But I do believe you need to have at least somewhat of a talented guy next to him and able to, in order to still get home. And if you look back at that let's say the Rams team that won the Super Bowl, they did have Von Miller, who was still playing very well at the edge, right? So you could get away with great edge guys.
Correct.
And Aaron Donald. It's just this is what the Eagles have believed in for many years now, where it's defensive tackle is a position where we really want to have good players at.
And that was Von Miller even though Von Miller's still a productive guy, but it was Von Miller
he was still playing at a pretty high level.
Yeah, but it was still Von Miller beyond what would be considered his prime shelf life.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't Denver Von Miller.
Right, exactly. I got you. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. All right, Phillies win yesterday, so we'll open up the Phillies as well.
That was nice.
They won 6-4. Nice outing out of Jesus Luzardo. He goes 5 1/3, allows 3 earned runs, puts you in a position to win, especially because your bats were alive yesterday. It was good to see Alec Boehm drive in a run with a single. It was nice to see Brandon Marsh make contact with a sacrifice fly that drove in a run. It was nice to see JT Realmuto with another 2-hit night, including the home run, which, by the way,
that home run with that wind?
For him to put that ball out, he must have smoked that ball because the wind was blowing in like crazy.
Well, they had stopped Trey Turner's home run.
Trey Turner's ball to start the game is a home run.
Yes.
But JT Realmuto must have absolutely demolished that baseball for it to have gone out. So a good win for the Phillies. Bullpen had a nice day. Alvarado's still a little dicey in his inning. Just a bit. 3 hits allowed and an earned run. But a good job by Romano, again, another good inning out of Romano.
Okay.
Matt Strahm closed the door. So good win for the Phillies. They needed to get that win because people were losing their minds here. Now, I want to point something out because I believe we should always point out stupidity. And I feel like every time the conversation's about stupidity, it seems to be about Bryce Harper and his base running. What are you doing to try to tag up?
What is it?
The ball's hit to the center fielder, not deep, at the wall. This ball's in front of the warning track.
It was ridiculous. There's no reason to do that. I mean, there's just none. It's that I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm flying by the seat of my pants, what I want to do. And no, it hurts you as much as it helps you. Don't do it. It is not something where now these are becoming more plentiful. The just ones where you go, come on, dude.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What was that?
Yeah. And oh, by the way, it ends the inning.
It was stupid.
And Nick Castellanos has been hitting the ball really well.
Yeah, he hits a home run later.
Yeah. So yesterday, in case you missed it, Trey Turner, I mean, this is just an abysmal inning. Trey Turner walks, he gets caught stealing, which I'm okay with him trying to steal back. Like,
no problem at all.
It's just,
no problem at all.
It's just to the story of the inning. Trey Turner walks, he gets caught stealing.
I like the steal attempt there.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
Harper walks, and then it's a ball hit deep, but it's not even at the warning track. And he tries to tag up, and he gets doubled up. And
Why?
I don't get it. And this is the same guy who I love. Great home run yesterday. Great to see him blast a baseball yesterday. The same guy that will jog down the first baseline on a ground ball.
Like on Saturday.
But then will try to tag up from first to second on a normal fly ball.
His base running is poor. It's poor. How about this? It's poor decision making.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Poor decision making. Saturday, he would have had an infield single, but he didn't run it out. And Trey Turner in the same game didn't run it out.
Yeah.
Would have had a single. It happened twice in a game because, of course, you can't ask these guys to play hard. It's like they bat 4 times a night. That would exhaust them.
But then he plays hard trying
and then he does
tag up.
Then he does something where you don't need to be playing hard, and you just need to play smart, and he does that. It's just so infuriating. But the thing is, the substitute teacher isn't going to correct you, isn't going to hold you accountable.
Because it wouldn't keep on happening.
Yes, I promise you this. Charlie Manuel would. Charlie Manuel would. Just saying. There's a certain type of manager that would, and there's a certain type of manager that won't. And you have benefits to both.
Yeah.
There's
And my thing is, again, we talked about this yesterday. Topper not getting ejected the other night. Not even sitting up.
The coroner of Philadelphia came and put a toe tag on him.
If the Phillies had won 9 straight,
yes.
All right, fine. Bryce Harper, if the Phillies are rolling and you're just trying to get an extra bag, all right, but you're not rolling.
No. That's why he's doing it. He gets more aggressive when the team isn't playing well because
that doesn't
he feels,
make sense.
Yes, it does. He feels the pressure to be the guy. The extra 90s become more valuable when your team's not playing well, so he makes more aggressive decisions. And
they're not smart decisions.
I know. I'm not saying they are.
Well, then when you call them aggressive decisions, you're not acknowledging that they're just not smart.
I just did. They're not smart decisions. I'm telling you why he's doing it more when the team is in a slide, because he feels the pressure to create something.
And more often than not,
and he makes dumb decisions.
It hurts the team.
Yeah,
more often
it's
than
just
not.
dumb.
All right, coming up next. Speaking of the manager, Brandon Marsh's 3-day vacation ended pretty quickly.
It's amazing. Rob Thompson can't count. Coming up next.
It also could be a major message toward another player. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
Brandon Marsh is hitting $1.08. Dombrowski gets paid a lot of money to come up with solutions. He doesn't have any solutions in the outfield. Is Justin Crawford ready to come up? I don't know if he's ready.
Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, if you missed it in the 6 o'clock hour, we have a busy show today, which we can't wait for. It's going to fly by. 8 o'clock, right at 8 o'clock, of course, your chance to win $1,000. But right before that, our man Adam Schefter joins us at 7:55. So, again, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the keyword before. Or, no, sorry. I will tell you how to win at 7:55, but I'll give you the keyword at 8 o'clock while Shefty is on the air. Shefty, 7:55 today. Amy Fadul for the entire 9 o'clock hour. Tim Kurkjian at 9:10.
Tim Kurkjian.
And we get to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies with Tim Kurkjian.
Yeah, I want to hear what he thinks about some of the decision-making.
So I have a question for him that I'm curious to see what his answer will be. So here's a little teaser for you. Don't steal my question.
Oh, I might.
When does somebody realize that somebody is either just struggling or maybe a book's out on them?
You just got to hope. You just got to hope.
But is there I wonder, baseball people, do they is it a game mark? Is it a certain plate appearance mark? Right, where they go, okay, we have figured out if this guy is just struggling or maybe there's a book on this guy. Because I believe the book is out on Brandon Marsh.
I believe it's like a pamphlet. There's a pamphlet on Brandon Marsh.
But I don't think there's a book out on Alec Boehm.
No, I
think
do not
he is
believe there's
just
a book.
struggling right now.
Well, how about this? If Alec Boehm could show some of the plate awareness over the long term of the season, and by the way, I do think I've seen glimpses of him making some of the. He hasn't done the Nick Castellanos adjustment yet, but he's getting there.
Yeah.
I would say that I still think there's a book on him that you don't have to throw him strikes to get him out.
Well, here's the thing. The one thing with Boehm, right? And the swinging at the first pitch in certain situations drives me insane. But I will say this.
Trey Turner does it all the time.
But here's the difference between Turner and Alec Boehm. Do you does Alec Boehm swing at bad first pitches? Because I normally don't see it.
Not really.
No, not a lot.
So, it's a pitcher knows, all right, I should not throw a fastball first pitch to this guy because he's going to swing.
I wonder why they challenge.
But it's not like he swings at pitches out of the zone.
But they challenge. It seems as if,
they challenge
honestly,
him.
That they challenge him, which to me is a lack of respect.
Could be. Well, they don't they don't think he's going to blast one out of the yard.
Right, exactly.
All right, so
he does kill a lot of worms.
He does. We've seen that a lot this year.
Yeah.
Brandon Marsh was back in the lineup yesterday. So
it's already Thursday? I saw that. I was like, oh, it's Thursday already.
On Monday, April 14th, Rob Thompson, before the game, when he announced that Johan Rojas would be in the lineup, told the media from his mouth that Brandon Marsh would be sitting the next 3 days.
I believe 3 days. I think his comment was, yeah, I believe 3 days.
That 3-day vacation, it's like maybe somebody caught strep on vacation, like I did. It ended pretty quickly because Brandon Marsh was back in the starting lineup yesterday. Now, you get bothered.
It's example 5028 of Rob Thompson and this Phillies organization saying one thing, like, here's a definitive statement, and then doing an absolute other.
Yeah.
And it's a problem with messaging.
And they tried spinning it with he had a really good day at the cage.
He had a really good day at the cage.
Really worked hard.
They have Taryn working overtime on that narrative.
Yeah.
The man,
day at the cages.
And look, that's Taryn doing her job, and she does a real good job at it.
Yeah.
But the idea of they have their narratives, and man, they're selling them hard.
Yeah.
Look how hard.
Taryn's just reporting what they're telling her.
Look how hard they're working. These guys are working hard.
So here's the deal. You can be bothered all you want about the messaging. Here's how I look at it. That was a straight-up referendum of Johan Rojas.
And that's freaking stupid. It is stupid. It is too small a sample size. So you give this other guy who has no plate awareness, who doesn't play better defense, so when he's in the lineup, you got to take that in.
Yeah.
He doesn't run the bases better. And you give him all the grace in the world to suck for weeks on end. And you give Rojas had a bad night. Yep, we know what we know about Rojas. Bull crap. It's lame, especially when you don't have the backbone to say what you mean and mean what you say. We think Marsh. They were worried about Marsh. We're worried about him mentally, man. We're worried about him. We're going to give him 3 days mental reset. Remember that whole thing? We talked about it yesterday.
Reset, yeah.
We talked about it yesterday on the show. And then it's like, oh, yeah, well, we forgot about that by 4:30 yesterday. Yeah, that wasn't, we didn't really mean
Maybe
that.
he had his come to Jesus moment.
It's unbelievable.
Luzardo was on the mound yesterday.
It's
Who knows?
freaking believable.
No, it was weird to say the 3 days thing and to put him back in the lineup the next day, but it could have been the referendum of Johan Rojas. His at-bats the previous night were arguably worse than Marsh's.
Well, BS. I've seen Marsh this month with terrible at-bats. Listless at-bats. No guts at-bats.
I mean, did Rojas make contact in 3 at-bats?
No, I don't believe it is. Other than
the strikeouts were
yes, it was bad. But you can't draw a he gets 1 day to make a referendum, another guy gets a month?
I'm not saying it's fair.
It's
what
ridiculous.
I'm telling you is I believe that was your message from the Phillies, right? Not forget Andrew Salciunas, forget
right.
Connor Thomas, forget John Kincade. That was the Phillies' message of, we don't believe in Rojas.
Well, here's Marcus in Dover, who sent that email during the game.
Oh, that's right.
He sent the email 4 minutes after the Marsh sacrifice fly.
Okay.
So after Marsh gets an RBI, which, by the way, MajorLeagueBaseball.com, MLB, the app, shut down. Because they were like, wait a minute, we have to put an RBI next to Brandon Marsh? What's going on? Marcus from Dover sends a little note along. It's literally within 5 minutes of that happening.
Yeah.
See, you guys killed Brandon Marsh all morning, and look, all it took was a day off, a mental reset. To get a freaking fly ball, he still doesn't have a hit since March 31st. And you hammer out that email, and he goes, now I'll give him credit.
Yeah.
He says, I know you're going to identify this as the stupidest email you would get.
Well,
I agree with you, Marcus. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, his batting average dropped yesterday
Oh,
to
my gosh.
100.
But you know what, though? We don't have a referendum on Brandon Marsh. For God's sakes, if there's a book on Brandon Marsh, it's like a Dick and Jane book.
Well, they have
See, Dick, run. Run, Jane, run.
They have a referendum on both of them. Neither of them are good.
That could be it, too.
Well, then one gets 5 times the chances to show that they suck.
Yeah, John, but you're arguing over a garbage bag and a recycling bag. Like it's
I'd get a bagster.
They need a
Connor.
bagster. They need a bagster.
See, Connor, we need a bagster here.
All right, coming up next, we'll continue our draft talk. We'll check out our text line, but also I saw a mock draft trade, Johnny, from our friends at NBC Sports Philadelphia. Almost feels like a no-brainer, and maybe Howie has tipped his hand. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phil's back in the win column. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Phillies took down the Giants 6-4 last night behind home runs from JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper. Alec Boehm also had a big RBI single to put the Phils ahead in the 6th inning. So it's nice to see the Phils get a W again. Game 3 of the 4-game series is tonight at 6:45. Robbie Ray on the mound for the Giants. Aaron Nola on the mound for the Phillies. Howie Roseman met with media yesterday to preview the upcoming NFL draft. He talked about being aggressive, something that he has become known for with the Birds, and talked about, how that aggressive nature has always been part of his DNA.
For me, I think that being aggressive has always been part of my DNA, and feel fortunate that I have the people around me who support that. It allows us to take chances and to try to be aggressive.
Now, we know how he's aggressive, but we don't always know what direction he's heading in. We'll see how the Birds are aggressive next Thursday when the NFL draft starts. The Flyers fell to the Blue Jackets 3-0 last night. They'll play their last game of the season tomorrow in Buffalo. Adam Schefter of ESPN joins us at 7:55. Amy Fadul will be with us for the entire 9 o'clock hour. And Tim Kurkjian will check in at 9:10 for a little update on what's going on with the Phillies. This update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. Their instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best draft coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia Union.
must the Eagles hit on in this specific draft for this upcoming season? Immediate impact. We'll check our text line on that coming up in a little bit at 610-632-0975. But I wonder, Johnny, did Howie Roseman potentially tip his hand yesterday during his press conference?
All right, I'm interested because we did not talk about this, so I'm interested to hear what you think he potentially exposed.
So I read a mock draft this morning from NBC Sports Philadelphia from Mike Mulhern.
Okay.
So not Dave, not Rube. It was Mike Mulhern.
What if he's from Havertown? I knew the Havertown Mulherns. They were a smart group of people. Good hockey players.
He has a trade proposal for the first-round pick. And if this is a possibility, which it is,
to trade the first-round pick.
I almost feel like this is a no-brainer considering everything that we have heard about this NFL draft.
Okay.
The Eagles and Saints make a deal.
All right.
Now, this is the second Saints mock draft trade. I remember Lance Zierlein had one where
Lance Zierlein believed it.
They traded up to get Jackson Dart.
Right.
In this scenario, Mike has them trading up for Jalen Milroe. Because, again, who knows where these quarterbacks are going to end up going.
I don't believe Milroe's a first-round pick.
But at 32, fifth year, the extra year.
I guess
and they invited him to the draft for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They're hearing something, Connor.
So the Eagles and Saints would swap the first and second round picks. So the Saints get 32, the Eagles get 40.
Okay.
So they only slide back 8 spots.
All right.
The Eagles would get the 93rd pick, and the Saints would get the 96th pick. So just a swap
So another
there.
swap there.
And then the Eagles get a 2026 second-round pick.
I do this.
That's a no-brainer.
Whereas the Saints get the 2026 fourth-round pick from the
I
Eagles.
do that. I do that deal in a second.
Now, here's the deal.
I'd call Opie Cunningham and make that deal right now down in New Orleans.
I think it's possible because if you're the Saints, A, Kellen Moore has a relationship with the Philadelphia Eagles. B, they're desperate for a quarterback.
You got it.
Did you hear the Derek Carr report that he might have season-ending or majority of the season shoulder issues?
Yeah, well, he definitely has some shoulder issues, and I don't think they'd be too unhappy with it because I think they hope to be at the bottom of the standings next year to go after another Manning.
Could be.
New Orleans Mannings.
Well, then why would you trade for a quarterback?
Because you still need a they still need a quarterback.
But why would you go Jalen Milroe and then next year go with Arch Manning?
I don't know, but I think they definitely want to be in the Arch Manning sweepstakes.
I'm sure. So I would do that deal in a heartbeat. Now, again, it makes sense with everything you hear about this NFL draft. Defensive tackle premium draft.
Okay.
Right? So the Eagles could draft one at 32. Maybe they could slide back to 40 and still get a quality defensive tackle. Same goes with tight end, right? And you're trying to get as many picks as possible for this year because you have areas of need. Howie Roseman yesterday was asked about how many first-round grade players they have. And, Johnny, the answer is not 32. Take a listen.
The way we go into looking in the draft is we always take worst-case scenario and work back from that. And we got to be really comfortable with whatever is our worst-case scenario, which will always entail getting a good player. There's never 32 first-round grades on our board. We don't have 32 first-round grades in this draft. So, obviously, it depends on how things go. You go through a lot of hypotheticals. You try to put yourself in any possible position so that you're ready to execute. Just even looking at last year, the guys that we thought were most realistic being available at 22. We feel like we got fortunate to get one of the guys that we didn't have in a lot of the scenarios. So, luck plays a part in it. Obviously, everyone's looking at things differently. Everyone has a different vision for what they're looking for their team. Everyone has a different vision for the particular players that they're looking at, and you just hope that kind of makes sense for your football team.
And the luck last year was 15 offensive players going off the board.
Which we will not see this year.
Right, that's not going to happen this year. And then that makes every defensive player fall or slide, and then that's why Quinyon Mitchell is still there when the Eagles are selecting last year.
Still can't believe that ever happened.
Me neither. So Howie, when he's talking about how we do not have 30 first-round grades. Now, maybe...
That's every year, though.
Maybe one of those guys does fall to them, and they stay at 32, and they select the player. Or...
they move up to where they have a first round grade.
Move up or move back. It's one.
Right.
It's to me. It's one of those two. They go, all right. We don't have all the first round grades are gone. So let's trade back into the second round. Let's get some more draft capital. Let's get a second round pick for next year as well. And we'll draft a second round player with a second round grade instead of overpaying for a first round player that we have a second round grade for. Or to your point, they target somebody and they go, let's trade up. We have 75 fifth-round picks that we can work around
I'm
with.
guessing that most teams do not have players with 25 first-round grades.
Yeah,
In
I would
any
agree.
year.
Yeah.
In any year. That's around the number. So you got to make the decision there. I
Now,
trust Howie.
in this scenario,
I love something about Howie's thinking, though, that he explained to us.
Yeah. What?
Because it's something that I preach it to my students. I preach it to, in life, I do it. People start thinking about a problem, and they start at the beginning. And like, what steps do I need to get to where? I think you start from the solution,
How to get there.
and then you figure out when you get in your car in the morning. If you're somebody, or if you're going someplace you've never been before, do you put your address in, your home address in the GPS?
Yeah.
No, you put the address of where you want to go. I like that. I hear Howie talking about and then they work backward.
Yeah.
I think that's the smartest way to solve a problem. Work backward. What do you want in life? Okay, I want to buy a house. Okay, what are the steps you're going to have to do? Let's think about them all to start fixing it so you can end up buying a house.
By the way, in this scenario where they would trade back to 40, he has the Eagles selecting Donovan Jackson, a guard/tackle from Ohio State, which, of course, could be the heir apparent to Lane Johnson.
See, now that's something that I've been worried about them not doing, that they haven't done that and they haven't addressed that, so I sort of like that.
Yeah. All right. What do we got on the text line so far this morning, Connor?
We have a bunch of people checking in on the conversation about the Philadelphia Eagles and what they need in this year's NFL draft. Now, this texter says if it's such a deep defensive tackle draft, then no reason to waste a first-round pick on one. Take a bigger need like corner or edge and get defensive tackle in the second or third.
Well, again, the big thing is that fifth-year option, right? So when they say don't waste a first-round pick, they may go, we'd rather have this player for 5 years than that player for 5 years.
Because if you did have an edge, let's say, Connor, you have an edge guy, and you draft him and you say, well, we'll take him in the second round. We'll take him at pick 40 if we made that trade with the Saints. Okay, you do that. Then you have him, Cooper, and Quinion all coming up for contracts same year.
Right.
And that's a problem for any GM.
Yeah.
That'd be a big issue.
So it's not as simple as don't waste.
Yeah, you have to remember there's a pecking order of who's going to get paid. Next offseason, Jalen Carter's going to get paid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most likely.
You know that's coming.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
All right, we have a check-in here from Jordan in Chester who says, I think the Eagles' first target and most important one should be a defensive tackle. He likes Walter Nolan, who we talked about yesterday. If he's not available, then edge rusher James Pierce. But either way, the defensive line is the position of most need.
And just for context.
I'm not a Pierce fan.
Oh, no?
No.
Out?
Nope. Not doing it. Not doing it with a first-round pick.
Got it. Fair. For context, from Mike Mulhern's mock draft, he says that Walter Nolan would have been off the board at that point.
Okay.
At 32. So it's not like
All right.
Nolan is still on the board.
Yeah, if he was still on the board for the Eagles, that'd be freaking fantastic.
Yeah, that would be great. And it's funny. It's all over the place.
Howie would knock somebody over to make that pick. And I wouldn't be surprised that if Walter Nolan's there at 25-26, Howie's making a move up the board to go get it.
Yeah, and there's been a couple of the Ezeraku. There's been a lot of mock drafts of them trading up for him. By the way, Todd McShay's latest mock yesterday had the Eagles staying at 32, had them taking a defensive tackle, but
Who?
Kenneth Grant out of Michigan because Walter Nolan he has going the pick before to the Kansas City
I don't
Chiefs.
know him, so I'd have to look at that. Got to watch some video.
Michigan, man. That's Brandon Graham.
Yeah.
They go from Brandon Graham to Kenneth Grant.
Okay.
From BG to KG.
I got to do a little research on that one. I can't speak to him.
I think the KG is already taken.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Not today and not in this town.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. Not
The
this
memory
town.
of Kenneth Gainwell?
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That KG. All right, you can text it at 610-632-0975. Our question, what position is most important for the Eagles to hit on in this specific draft for the immediate impact? Because we are still dreaming of Super Bowls, right? So that means these rookies need to be good. Which position is most important for them to hit on right away? And if you want to chime in on the Phillies as well, feel free. Bryce Harper's base running antics. I watched the play again this past break. The center fielder's feet, like he was planted under the ball. It's not even like he was still ranging back, and that's why
Like you
Harper
thought you might
tagged
catch
up.
him.
Like,
Yeah.
like no, he was ready to throw it to second base.
So dumb.
I just don't get
So
it.
dumb.
All right, we have Adam Schefter at 7:55. Before that, how about another ESPN icon, especially this time of the year, Mel Kiper. Johnny, not only do we have his first-round pick for the Eagles, we have rounds 2 and 3 as well. It's Kincade Salciunas on a nuts draft day. 8 days away, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
I believe that Turner.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. I was just thinking during the commercial break.
So was I.
Well, I liked what you were thinking of.
That's a nice change for you guys.
Thanks.
Zalika Silver popped up on my timeline.
Yeah, she's nice.
She's a very attractive woman
She's
and
nice.
great actress.
Yeah, nice to look at.
Yes.
Before I get you the mock draft of Mel Kiper, picks rounds 1, 2, and 3 for the Eagles. We're not going to go through the whole thing. And of course, I want to get to Mel before Adam Schefter. Back-to-back ESPN icons, man. I was thinking about this during the commercial break about the center field position. When it comes to this show, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
You mean just as far as material?
Because I got Connor Marsh in there, who's a bigger Brandon Marsh fan than most.
I called them both garbage bags earlier.
You're a bigger fan of Brandon Marsh than most.
That is fair.
You are the biggest defender of Brandon Marsh on the station.
Yeah, probably.
I got Johnny Rojas to my left.
No, but again, I don't think he's the answer. But I just want to say he's not the answer. I have never once. Don't do that.
No, I know you've never
I've
said
made
that
my
he's the
argument,
answer.
so don't make up fake ones.
You
for
would
him.
just rather
I
see
would
Rojas get an opportunity.
I want to see him get an opportunity instead of now we've got the Marsh line. Now, Andrew and I were talking about the Mendoza line either. Now we get to work on the Marsh line. He's hitting 100.
Yes.
With all of these opportunities to play, hitless in a month. So now we just watch. How much is he going to fall under the Marsh line? That's where we're at. To continually give grace to one player and not to another is freaking malpractice and ridiculous.
I strongly disagree. This is not Little League. This is not participation trophy. If
Then
the
what
Phillies
is Marsh getting rewarded for?
For probably what they saw. The trade is honestly the right answer.
That's what they're doing. In other words, then, it's cover your ass.
Okay.
It's CYA. They're not doing what's best for the team. They're not doing what's best. They're saying, damn, this Logan. You see Logan O'Hoppe?
Yeah, he's looking good.
We're gonna be ripped on this trade for a generation.
Yeah.
So now we have to do everything we can to work out Brandon Marsh. You let your manager go out there and say it's going to be 3 days, and then Waffle House switches to 1 day because I believe that probably came from upstairs too.
Probably.
Yeah, but they're not playing Brandon Marsh over Justin Crawford, right? Like they're.
No, I got you.
Like,
no, they
neither-
are. No, they are.
Well, not really. But neither of these guys
What do
are.
you mean they're not? They could have Justin Crawford could be up here, and there are plenty of Major League Baseball organizations that would have him up here that don't care about.
Maybe
Oh, we
that
gotta
have
wait.
had
Gotta wait
younger
4 more
players.
weeks for service time.
We don't know. The Justin Crawford thing's set aside. He'll be up at some point this year. He's not going to be up now. Leave that apart. My point is, Yohan Rojas is not an answer, and he's not a better player than anybody. Like, I don't know why he deserves grace either. Neither of them deserve grace, and that's the issue.
Because in 16 at bats, he had as many hits as Brandon Marsh in 45. So I'm tired of this narrative. It's crap. In 3 times as many at bats, Brandon Marsh was an abject failure. Give Rojas more of a chance. Now, I don't think he's a long-term answer at all.
Right.
At all. And I don't even think he's a long-term fourth outfielder. I do not. I think your fourth outfielder has to have the bat.
Yes, absolutely.
And he's not. And I want.
You can
some
have
pop.
a fifth outfielder defensive replacement.
That's about all. That's about all he could
Who
be.
does all that stuff.
I like it though. Now we have the Marsh line.
As I said, the gift that keeps on giving. I got Johnny Rojas, Connor Marsh, and I'm the guy that hates both of them.
Yes, we're in the midst.
Beautiful. All right. So, full disclosure for this mock draft. It was the Field Yates / Mel Kiper.
Okay.
So they basically did a draft.
So were they going back and forth?
Yes, they went back and forth. So here's how it fell. According to their look, again, these two guys are deep in the trenches with the draft, so they weren't making like ridiculous claims. This isn't Nick Wright doing a mock draft.
People mock Mel a lot.
Yeah, but he's good.
Mel Kiper has great connections. He's been doing this a long time, and his average number. And I've tracked this for a long, long time. His average number is around 25.
Okay.
He'll identify 25. It's slipped a little in recent years, but he used to have years where he was 29, 28.
Yeah.
Identifying first rounders. That's all I care about with the mock draft.
So he had the Eagles selections in each round. His first round pick
was what?
I can't see this happening. We talked about him yesterday. Jahad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama.
No.
I don't know why you would do that unless the Eagles don't believe in the Kobe Dean to stay healthy. And because, look, let's face it, it is starting to pile up,
No,
right?
absolutely. You have absolutely every reason to have that fear.
And they go, hey, it is what it is. You know, we got to have another guy here waiting.
They're going to pay first round type money to Vaughn, and then you're going to pay another first rounder?
That's why I don't see it.
I don't either.
I really don't see it, but that's who they have. By the way, Field Yates took Walter Nolan at 17 early.
Field's a smart guy.
Yeah, he is. But that, in case you're wondering, was somebody else on the board. The second pick. second round, pick 64. Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State.
Okay.
Safety, which is a position of need. Here's what he quickly wrote on it. I closed my 2-round mock draft last week with Winston to the Eagles. I'm doing it again today. Winston missed almost the entire 2024 season because of a knee injury, but he could absolutely help Philly's safety group.
Well, I'm not going to argue that point, but second round? No.
Yeah?
Nope. Not doing
It's like Sidney Jones-esque.
Not doing
absolutely.
it.
And that was
not
great.
doing it. Not doing it.
Oh, wasn't?
I know.
Didn't work out at all.
Yeah, I'm not doing
Not
it.
remotely.
Lastly, pick 96, he goes with C.J. West, defensive tackle out of Indiana. Right away, here's your Milton Williams replacement. West had double-digit run stops in each of his past 4 seasons and chipped in 9 sacks over that time. Here's the thing. I need a pass-rushing defensive tackle or a guy that can get after the quarterback more so than another run stuffer because I already got that.
Intrigued? Don't know enough to tell you about the player.
I just don't need 2 run stuff.
Yeah, I don't wait. No, first of all, I don't want another. I do believe, though, that they will look. I don't know if they're going to replace. I don't know if they're going to keep Jordan Davis around, like long term. I don't even know if they're going to do his 5th-year option. But to me, I don't want another Jordan Davis.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Now, I wonder what the market for Jordan Davis is.
I think Jordan Davis would get you a 3rd-day pick.
No, I'm saying financially.
No, I don't think he's. But the thing is, I think he'd be a 3rd-day pick if you were trying to trade him. So that sort of tells you what he's going to be able to demand money-wise.
Right. I don't think he's going to break the bank. So.
I think somebody would trade you. I think somebody would trade you a 4th-rounder tomorrow for him. Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, probably.
They wouldn't even hesitate because they'd say, "Okay, I got 2 years of Jordan Davis. I've seen what he does." But I do believe right now, in my heart of hearts, Jordan Davis will be the odd man out. When they start doing these contracts and everything,
right.
he'll be the odd man.
Yeah, because even though he is, again, let's make this clear, elite.
He is
at his one trick.
But it's
a one-trick pony.
But it's one trick that I think Howie Roseman says, not that they fall off trees.
But I can find other big, beefy defensive tackle that could be a run stuffer.
Especially with that defensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, coming up next, Adam Schefter joins us as he does every single Wednesday. Starts at 7:55. Now, here's the deal. Keyword at 8 o'clock. I'm going to tell you how you can win at 7:55. I will give you the keyword at 8. We do not want to totally interrupt the Shefty conversation, so we'll do all the stuff that you need to know at 7:55, the word itself, while Shefty is on with us at 8 o'clock. That comes your way next. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
How Howie's approaching the draft. I'm Connor Thomas, and Howie Roseman met with the media yesterday because the NFL draft is coming up. Not this Thursday, but next Thursday, so we're a little over a week. And he talked about being aggressive, which is something that we've come to know Howie Roseman as in his time here in Philadelphia. Here's what he had to say about aggressive moves during the draft.
For me, I think that being aggressive has always been part of my DNA, and feel fortunate that I have people around me who support that. It allows us to take chances and to try to be aggressive.
So you'd expect Howie to make some moves. The question is, what kind of moves will they be? Well, we're still trying to figure that out as, again, the draft is just a little over a week away. The Phillies took down the Giants 6-4 last night behind home runs from JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper. Alec Boehm also had a big RBI single. Nice to see for him. Game 3 of the 4-game series is tonight at 6:45. Robbie Ray versus Aaron Nola is the pitching matchup in that game. Flyers fell to the Blue Jackets 3-0 last night. They're going to play their last game of the season tomorrow in Buffalo. Adam Schefter, he's going to join us coming up next. Amy Fadul will join us for the entire 9 o'clock hour, and Tim Kurkjian will join us at 9:10. This update's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the best draft coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Eagles General Manager Howie Roseman.
We want to get it.
Of course, coming up at 8 o'clock, I will give you the key word for your next chance to win $1,000. So here's how you're going to do it. When I give you the keyword at 8 o'clock, I will make this as simple as possible. You text the word to 45911, or you go to the app, the Fanatic mobile app, or 975thefanatic.com. One random entry wins $1,000. Company-wide contest. The winner will get a call from Beasley, so be sure to answer your phone. Contest rules at 975thefanatic.com, and it's all being presented to us by our friends at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia, voted best casino in PA by Casino Player Magazine. I give the keyword in 5 minutes. But now let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. He's brought to us by Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. He joins us every Wednesday at this time from ESPN, our man Adam Schefter. Shefty, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew and John. What's going on today?
We are 8 days away from the NFL draft.
8 sleeps.
So I'm sure your phone has probably been buzzing. So I will ask you, at what point does Adam Schefter get the feel of the direction of the NFL draft? And I'm not even saying first overall pick. Like, certain positions will go early, other positions will go later. Certain players you think will go in the first round will not be drafted on day one. When do you start getting your feel pre-draft?
I think it's always a constantly evolving process. Like I never feel entirely comfortable. And things change, and I just saw Louis Riddick on TV this morning. He was talking about when he worked in the Washington front office. I think it was the 2004 draft, and they had Kellen Winslow Jr. as the top-rated player on their board for the entire process. And then the night before the draft, they met at their facility late into the night, and when they reported to work in the morning, the new name atop the draft board on the morning of the draft was Sean Taylor.
Wow.
Now, but it's a great story, and it typifies exactly what we're going through. Like, at one point I thought the Cleveland Browns would be doing quarterback, and I think they were going to do quarterback, but then it became apparent that Cam Ward is settling into the number one spot. And then I thought, well, they're spending a lot of time with Abdul Carter. The owners met with him in Cleveland. They went to their pro day, and there were people in the organization talking about matching Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett, and I thought, well, this seems like it's trending that way, and it was. And then you see him at Travis Hunter's pro day, and the way they're acting on it, and like, it feels like Travis Hunter's the pick. And then I spoke to somebody yesterday, like, I'm telling you, Cleveland's not doing Travis Hunter. I'm like, really? Now, I don't know what's right and what's not. But my point is that it changes all the time. It's fluid for the teams themselves. So I'm certainly not going to get to a point 8 days out, 8 hours out, where I just say, well, I got it all figured out. Let's see how it goes right now.
I know this, Adam, as we look at what the Eagles have done the last 4 years, and they have arguably been the best drafting team in the NFL, especially if you talk about just the first 3 rounds. Howie and his staff have killed it. One thing I've seen is that Howie says he doesn't draft for need, but I could look at almost every single one of those picks, and those years, they were a need position. So how do you think people balance out the need, best player available stuff?
Well, I do think you balance it out. That's the whole thing. Like, I don't mean to make this more complex than it needs to be, John. Like, you're looking for the best player, but you're looking for somebody that's going to help you. Like, if the best receiver at the Eagles' turn was, I'm making this up, Emeka Egbuka, it'd be hard to go wide receiver. Yeah, I think it'd be hard to go.
Yeah, I don't think they would. I think they would just say, we're going to go. Or does that mean, is that when Howie trades out?
Well, I think if you look at Howie, he's prioritized the lines and cornerback. That's what it feels like to me over time. Of course, there are exceptions, but that's what I'm talking about. You blend it together, and it's a combination of the best player on your board and a player that fits your needs. Like, Jalen Carter, you could have made the argument there that they didn't need to bolster their defensive line at that time, correct? I mean, it certainly never hurts to have people there.
Well, I think they knew that Fletcher Cox was on his last year. It was heading out,
Yeah, again, you'd like to address it, but they I think you could have made the argument that year that they had greater needs.
Right.
So look, it's their job to study these guys all year long and come out with a feel on certain guys. And, like, you get out of that process and you feel like, this guy I like. Now, I may be too deep there, whereas I may be really thin at another position. But sometimes a player's so good in your own mind and in the eyes of your organization, you have to go make it work. It may not be ideal. It may not fill the biggest need, but you do what you have to, and you figure it out, and in my mind, you make that work.
Adam Schefter joining us here on Kincade Salciunas. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, BZ Media Group Station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. And today's key word for your next chance to win $1,000 is purse. P-U-R-S-E. That's purse. Shefty, obviously draft day comes with looking at what the Eagles will do with their draft picks, but it's also a day where Howie Roseman makes moves, either trying to acquire players or maybe more so this year, move on from some players. Dallas Goedert and Bryce Huff. Likelihood of either of those players being moved on any of the days of the draft?
I think that they're absolutely open to it, and you got to find somebody that would be willing to trade for them, and they've been open to dealing them all along, and nothing's materialized. So, I guess somebody may come up a tight end short in the draft. Somebody may be looking for a pass rusher at some point during the draft. I don't know how much you're going to get back, on Bryce Huff. I don't know that. And Dallas Goedert, I don't think they're going to waver on. Like, they're going to be pretty firm in what they want back. So, look, eventually when there's enough smoke, usually you get something. Next week is the week you get something. So it's in play, but it's just not simple to get done.
When you look at the landscape in the division, the Giants, they go and get Russell Wilson and everything, and they'll probably address quarterback at some point, maybe. But it's the idea is, are the other teams in the division ready to make a move? Washington, we already know, made big strides last year. What's Washington thinking? And are the Giants and the Cowboys could they even get in striking distance?
The Giants have an unsettled quarterback position. And I do think, look, just follow the signs. They're doing all these private workouts with all these quarterbacks leading into they're going to draft a quarterback in their first couple of picks. I mean, it would take a lot for them not to do that in my mind. So the question is, are they going quarterback at 3 or are they going quarterback at 35, I think is the pick. And I don't know that they're set as an organization on that just yet, to the Louis Riddick point in story. I think they're still going through it, and these private workouts are going to have something to say about where these guys go in the draft and where the Giants opt for that quarterback. The Cowboys, I think the Cowboys are better than people think. I don't think they're at the Eagles or Commanders level, but I do think they're a good football team. So I think there's a clear pecking order here, and Philadelphia sits in the top spot with Washington closing because of the quarterback. The team itself is not as good, but the quarterback is. And so that is the great equalizer.
Big news yesterday, Jalen Ramsey and the Dolphins agreeing that they will try to find a trade partner. Odds that Jalen Ramsey is in the NFC, and I would imagine to be with one of the contenders. What are you thinking there?
I think we're going to have a hard time trading him. No one's going to want that contract. It's always interesting to me, like, these names come out at this time of the year, and people, they go crazy over it. And it's like, these teams have been talking about these people. I don't think it's any surprise, but I guess it surprises the public. And I think they're going to have a hard time trading him unless they're paying down a healthy portion of that salary, and even then it might be tough. So, to me, it won't be a surprise if they just wind up releasing him at some point. Wow. But when a team says, we're open to trading him and we're parting ways, like, that's an advertisement. Don't trade for him. They're going to release him.
I'm going to ask you a question, and if you can't answer this, I completely understand it, so just tell me I can't get into that, John. Around league circles, do you believe teams want to stop trading with Howie Roseman, want to stop taking his call? And no? So you think that that's not an option at all?
Definitely not. Like, by the way, let's just say I'm making this up in the last pick of the first round, that there have only been at that point, I'm giving you a hypothetical, 2 quarterbacks picked, Shador and Cam Ward. And the Saints or the Steelers call up. Do you think if and when they want to get to 32 to draft one of these quarterbacks in our hypothetical situation here, they're going to say, "Oh, we're not calling 32. Right. That's how."
Yeah, I guess that is correct. It's just the idea of him. He's gotten that reputation now as that being fleecing people.
So what? Like,
okay.
He's not holding up anybody. Like, this is a mutually agreed upon trade. We are aware of his trading history and his track record. But that is in no way going to stop a team that wants their pick or their player from calling Howie. You know it's probably going to be a tougher negotiation. You know he may extract a little bit extra, but there's no way that you're not going to call and make a deal because they have a good track record in other trades that they've made in recent years. No chance.
Shefty, you're the man. We appreciate the time as always. Can't wait to talk to you next week. It'll be the day before the NFL draft. So next week I got to find out who's going to be the guy that falls, who's going to be the guy that climbs last second. I need all this information from you next week, Shefty. All right?
I'll give it to you now.
Whoops. What do we got?
I think Matthew Golden goes higher than people think. I think James Pierce goes lower than people think. There's a couple of guys here right there. How about that?
Wow, how about that?
Look
That's
at that.
good. By the
right
way,
off the cuff.
I need you to confirm May 8th. I'm hearing
May 8th?
I'm hearing May 8th for potential schedule release.
Oh, W's and L's Day.
It's one of my no. This is good.
May I got an email about it yesterday. I might have let me see. Oh, here it is. May 13th, 14th, 15th.
Okay, so it'll be in that range, 13, 14, 15.
So
That's
that
awesome.
means May 14th, if it comes out the 13th, you, me, and John will do W's and L's.
No, I'll call in sick if you're going to play that stupid game.
Shefty, we appreciate the time as always, man. We'll talk to you next week.
I'll be in Wisconsin next week. We'll talk to you from Green Bay.
There you go.
That. There he is, Adam Schefter on the Comcast Business Hotline, brought to us by our friends over at Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. You don't want to do W's and L's with Shefty?
He would not do W's.
I know. He hated it last year.
He would not do it.
Even though I was pretty close. The way I got you to do it.
Yeah, you did. You were
pretty
sneak.
close.
You were. Now, that was first year of Kincade
I'm going to have to find a new way to.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're going to be able to do it.
I'm going to have to find a new way this year.
Adam, book a room in Genoa City, by the way. Don't stay in Green Bay. Don't stay in Green Bay. Seriously.
I wouldn't know anything about it other than it's cold and they like cheese.
Yes.
All right, coming up next, we have today's headlines with Connor Thomas here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
Brandon Marsh is hitting a $1.08.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Check out the deal of the week, 50% off 2 race tickets and 2 front stretch access passes for the Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 400 NASCAR Cup Series race, July 20th at Dover Motor Speedway. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. Thanks to our man Adam Schefter for joining us last segment. You can hear that again on 975thefanatic.com. It'll be up on our YouTube page. And you should always check out YouTube. You can watch the show live, like right now, post-show headline.
Go watch that, because Brendan and I were just talking while you were on the phone. No, with Amy coming in and Kurkjian coming in, we won't do the best 5.
Correct. Yeah, we got a busy 9 o'clock.
Got a busy 9 o'clock.
Brendan gets to put his feet up.
Well, what's different? It's Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, that's true. Time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Brought to us by,
of course, Lundy Law. For over 70 years, Lundy Law has been fighting for injured people. If you need them, remember the name Lundy Law. Your injury lawyers. Visit lundylaw.com. That's lundylaw.com. Now, the Sixers season is, of course, over, but the NBA season is not. And we got our first look at the play-in games last night. And maybe you were zoned in, maybe you weren't. If you missed it, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler went absolutely off for the Warriors, who are going to take on the Rockets in the next round. The Magic were able to find a victory as well. Here's what it sounded from Kevin Harlan on the call for the Steph Curry performance, though.
It's Curry off the screen, fakes, fires, stuck it! Just stuck it! Timeout!
Steph Curry's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, he's still 6 threes last night, by the way. 6 of 13, which is just ridiculous. Greatest shooter in the history of the NBA. And he still does it. By the way, he's 37 years old, right? So he turned 37 basically a month ago, March 14th. He still does the runs like a mile within 24 seconds, right? Off-ball screen, gets the ball, handoff, off-ball screen, corner 3, bang. I mean, this dude is running a marathon and is still has the legs to go 6 of 13 from 3 last night, 7 of 12 from 3 the other night against the Clippers. It's unbelievable, and, I don't see that stopping anytime soon.
I don't think so either.
He's in great shape.
Yeah, well,
he's playing 39, 38 minutes.
I thought it was deeply embarrassing that they were celebrating the way that they were, winning the 7-8 play-in game. You're the You're the Golden State Warriors, and you're dropping confetti and balloons and going, "Woo! We're the 7th seed."
Yeah, wins are good.
They made the playoffs.
A 7 seed is a depressing step down season.
Not necessarily if you have this guy.
This was James Butler.
Yeah, I mean, he stepped up big for them as well.
He did, and Miami Heat fans got to be saying, you know what, F him.
Jimmy Butler, we're going to get into this with Amy later on today, because we got a couple of basketball things I want to bring up while Amy's in studio with us. Jimmy Butler, look, he's a kook. He's his own problem, right? Chicago, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Miami.
Wherever he goes.
Eventually he'll be a problem with Golden State. But I just mentioned 37-year-old Steph Curry. The fact that Jimmy Butler at 35 can just flip it on and ball out the way that he did last night,
fantastic.
It's unbelievable.
And you know what, though? If you're a Miami Heat season ticket holder,
you hate him.
You're like, what a jerk that this guy, I don't want to play. I don't want to play. Or just, I'm taking, when he was playing and he wasn't pissed at them, I just don't feel like playing tonight.
Yeah.
And then it's playoff time. Oh, look.
Yeah. And you know what?
Playoff Jimmy.
He did that for them. To an NBA Finals twice.
But he played in the regular season.
Yeah.
He didn't do what he did to that team. He screwed over every one of his teammates this year.
I got you. That's the NBA. He's not the first one to do it. He will not be the last.
And that's why, by the way, I have them losing tonight.
Now, speaking of turning it on when you need to.
Okay.
Salciunas is going to love this.
Hello.
The Pirates brought back something that helped them turn it on. They had a nice performance the other day, scored 10 runs, and it is in large part, almost entirely, thanks to our old pal, Andrew McCutchen, who decided to gift his teammates with something that helps baseball players absolutely turn it on whenever they need to.
No, get the hell out of here. Stop.
They brought back the Fightins. Not the Fightin' Phils. No, the 3-thread necklaces that if you're Andrew and I's age, you saw all over like the AAU baseball circuit.
They had different abilities to them.
Oh, yeah,
John.
because they're like gems.
It helps you balance and everything.
One was balance.
Sure, it does.
One was for anxiety.
Yes, one's anxiety.
I played with the kid. Actually, a buddy of mine growing up. I liked him a lot. Who had like 4 of them on at one time.
Was he good?
He can hit the ball pretty well.
That's why.
Because he had one for anxiety and he had one for not understanding the strike zone. One for, you know what, Brandon Marsh, we should bedazzle his uniform with these things. Just bedazzle.
No, that's Garrett Stubbs, Lehigh Valley. Their next big day. Bedazzle day.
Yeah,
at Lehigh.
Hey, maybe the Fightins are coming back, though. If
Oh, my God.
I sure hope not.
Yeah, no, me either. Those are kind of a mess. We'll round out with something we started the show with.
What position is most important for the Eagles to hit on in this specific draft?
I'm going to continue to go with safety here. And part of the reason why I brought that up is because you guys both went defensive line, and it's more for the sake of conversation. I don't think you're wrong. But in the long term, you have an answer at defensive line in Jalen Carter, who's a monster. In the long term, you have an answer at corner with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, even though you have an open spot out there. And in the long term at safety, who is it? Reed Blankenship? Like, I like Reed Blankenship more than Salciunas does, but I don't think
everybody does more than Andrew does.
Yeah, I don't think he's a long-term solution. I think that's the defensive position that is the most valuable that you don't have a long-term answer at, and that's why for me it's safety.
Remember though, it was Andrew DeCecco and Jeff Kerr both sharing with us. They think he's going to get re-upped and extended.
Yeah, I think he'll be here.
Yeah.
But that means you're telling somebody they're a long-term solution. You're a long-term solution. They're not gonna pay him to be a backup.
Well, he's a long-term solution at the 2.
Yeah,
yes,
safety
exactly. That's
right.
fine.
I'm saying long-term solution.
They're not gonna pay him at 1.
That's why
the guy.
2 seasons ago, I really did not like him when he was the guy.
Right.
And it was
fine.
bad.
And then you kept that hatred going even when he was the 2.
No, just you guys overrate some of the interceptions.
I feel like you underrate everything about
You mean a guy on this team who actually can snag interceptions? Yeah, isn't that great? Let's get rid of him. Let's move on from him.
By the way, the fighting necklaces, often marketed for their potential to enhance athletic performance and promote healing.
What a bunch of BS.
Claim to work by balancing the body's energy flow.
Oh, yeah,
and improving flexibility, balance, and strength, John.
Worked for me, man. I wore those. Maybe D3 athlete that I was.
There was. What if you'd been D1 if you'd worn 2 of them?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
so.
The powers increase.
Well, no, 2 would have been D2. 3 of them would have been D1.
All right, coming up next, we get back to our Eagles conversation, but in a much different way. In a way that'll put a major smile on a lot of your faces because Eagles fans have made someone's life miserable. And a lot of you will love it. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phils find a much-needed win. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Phillies took down the Giants 6-4 last night behind home runs from JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper. Alec Boehm also had a big RBI single to put the Phils ahead in the 6th inning. They needed that one. They've been on a slide lately. We'll see if that turns into a bit of a streak. Game 3 of the 4-game series against the Giants is tonight at 6:45. Robbie Ray on the mound for the opposition. Aaron Nola on the bump for the Phils. Howie Roseman met with media yesterday to preview the upcoming NFL draft. And he talked about being aggressive. Now, that's something that he's become known for with the Birds, but listen to him talk about that always being part of his DNA.
For me, I think that being aggressive has always been part of my DNA, and feel fortunate that I have the people around me who support that. It allows us to take chances and to try to be aggressive.
We'll see what they do next Thursday when the NFL draft starts. The Flyers fell to the Blue Jackets 3-0 last night. They'll play their last game of the season tomorrow in Buffalo. We're going to talk to Amy Fadul for the entire 9 o'clock hour, and Tim Kurkjian is also going to check in with the guys at 9:10. This update is brought to you by Batteries Plus. Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They still exist at Batteries Plus. Their expert knowledge on batteries will have you on your way and good to go in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge. And nice pun there. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best draft coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
What was that?
I'll get to it in a minute, but I would like to check our text line. It's been a little bit, and of course, we're going to be really busy in the 9 o'clock hour. Amy's going to be with us. Tim Kurkjian is going to be joining us at 9:10.
Okay.
So I don't want our Eagles and Phillies discussions to just go away. So, Connor, what do we have on the text line this morning?
So we haven't checked in on any Phillies conversation, so I want to get to a couple of those. This texter says, Marsh now batting 100. When will this center field nightmare end? Because Rojas is not the answer either, and I don't want a rookie out there when the Phillies are trying to win a World Series.
This does not make sense. This thought process does not make sense. Why do you keep putting out the guy who is continually showing you now 48 at-bats, 49 at-bats? He cannot hit. But you're saying the guy who's had 21 at-bats or 20 at-bats, well, we can't give him more of a chance. Neither one of them is the long-term answer. But Marsh is deficient to Rojas in so many ways that it doesn't make sense.
Right. And now here's the thing. I don't want to rely on a rookie. Here's the thing. He could be good. Like, we have seen young players throughout baseball get called up and make immediate impacts.
Yes.
Look at the color analyst of the Phillies radio network.
And yes.
Kevin Stocker comes up and it makes an impact.
A major league executive said to me the other day, he goes, yes. I said, how many teams, let me get the exact wording. He said, how many teams would right now have Justin Crawford up in the major leagues? He says, probably 5 or 6, but if they had the problems the Phillies have in center field, make that 10 or 12.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
This is a disaster.
Like, if you're a rebuilding team, you're not quickly calling up somebody because, again, the
correct
the service time.
But if you are a team, the Phillies should be able to survive Justin Crawford coming up and being thrown to the wolves. They believe this guy has major league starting center fielder stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's not going to. He's going to destroy his career. They brought him up. We think he could be up here in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We might bring him up, but right now, no. We got to have more games against pitchers that aren't even major league caliber in AAA.
Right, but you said 10 to 12. You're arguing the minority opinion of Major League Baseball teams. I'm not saying they can't.
No, because the situations they have, Connor, most people have a center fielder.
No,
so they wouldn't bring him up.
They said in the Philly situation, 10 to 12. That's
because
still
they're
less than half.
Because they're desperate. If teams are in the Philly situation, they're a good team, and they're desperate for a center fielder. They don't have one. I'm going to tell you right now, 18 of or 20 teams in Major League Baseball have a center fielder who is 3 times as good as either Marsh or Rojas. So they wouldn't be on that list. They wouldn't be one of the teams that would be going.
I'm just responding to the text. Here's the thing. If the Phillies can survive Justin Crawford not being good enough as a rookie, they can survive Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas until the time where they can bring Crawford up when you don't have to worry about the service time.
Which is why I said yesterday, if Marsh struggles after the 3-day respite, which lasted...
You mean the 1-day respite?
Which lasted 1 day.
Because the Phillies say one thing and then do another. Because when you do not have a guiding force, when you do not have a backbone to make decisions and stand by them, you do this. One day you talk to us all about the mental health struggles and all this, and then next day, he cured those mental health struggles and woof, man, he's like Dr. freaking Phil there in the dugout. He's figured it all out.
Us upstairs isn't helping with that situation.
That could very well be.
Then you know what, though? We should not always point fingers at the manager.
The manager does not have to go out and do the soliloquy he did on Monday.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. There are managers who just won't get into it too much. He's struggling. We're going to give him a few days.
Maybe he did it on purpose.
Ooh. Never thought about that.
Saying. He hears about how horrible his lineup is all the time and how Brandon Marsh shouldn't play.
Yeah, okay.
He says, hey, I'm sitting for 3 days.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, but all of a sudden he's back in the lineup the next day. Maybe the phone rang.
Here's the thing. You beat a good baseball team yesterday with Marsh going 0 for 3. Now, he did have the RBI sac fly, but he went 0 for 3, did not have a hit in the game, and you did not need that RBI to win. You would have won by 1 run. Like, here's the thing. This team is good enough to win with a hole in the lineup. The problem is, right now, they have multiple.
Then why wouldn't you go with the superior athlete in the position so you get superior defense and superior base running. And don't tell me that he can't hit the way Marsh can hit because he's had 1/3 the opportunities and he has as many hits.
That's why I'm telling you.
He's had as many hits.
I think the Phillies
don't
told
like
you. Yeah, it's not what Connor's saying, Andrew, John. It's what the Phillies are telling you.
It's all about making that trade look good.
Yeah.
Well,
Stop playing cover your ass and give us the best team possible and the best defense.
All right, I want to make you smile.
Do that.
Emmitt Smith did a hit on the ticket in Dallas.
Okay.
You know the guys.
I know the boys there. They're
guys
great.
Down there.
Love them.
This should make everybody smile. Did you see these quotes?
I did not.
Oh, it's great.
God, and I follow those guys. They're good dudes.
Emmitt Smith was on the ticket, and they were talking about the long drought of the Super Bowl for the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
Because it's been, 30 years. Quote, I'm sick of it. We have allowed others to nitpick at the star and make fun of the star and make fun of the star, and that's what happens. Now, all of a sudden, over the last 20 years, the Eagles, win 2 Super Bowls, and they think they're the best thing on the planet. And everywhere I go, I hear, go Birds. I'm sick of hearing it. Go Birds. I'm always asking, where are you going? You still got a long way to go to get to us.
That's not true.
That part bugs me. It bugs me because in my heart, I truly believe our organization should be contending for an NFC championship and even a Super Bowl at least once or twice every decade because our team recycles every decade. For us not to be there over the last 30 years is a crying shame. Focus on that part.
How about focus on basic math? Now, look, athletics at Florida, they're not going for Mensa athletes at the University of Florida. It's a very good school. Obviously, the Eagles have 5. The Cowboys have 5.
Eagles have 2.
The Eagles have 5.
Well, are we talking championships?
Yes. What do you mean? Wait a minute. We don't count the championship because somebody put a name on it?
No, we should.
Why?
Super Bowl era.
No. Then you're cherry picking stats to make an argument.
Nobody in this city was saying, "Oh, the Eagles have championships" before they won their first ring.
No,
this city,
they didn't have
Eagles
Super Bowl.
fans don't say it.
Right, the Eagles fans don't say it.
Yeah, we weren't living on that.
But if there's actually someone who understands the game, championship is championship, and they actually have 5. So I don't understand that one at all.
That's a reach we don't need to make.
I'm not going to side with you on that one. I'm not. It's okay.
NFL championships didn't count.
Super Bowl era.
Before they named it the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl
Well,
era.
then you're cherry picking a stat. You're cherry picking a stat.
But
it's coming from Eagles fans.
No, I understand. So before what 66 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
6667.
Life
so
didn't
before
exist
that,
back then.
So those championships don't count.
No,
that's ridiculous.
Nothing counted.
So Chuck Bednarik, God rest your soul. Chuck, those championships, they don't count. They don't count. They do.
When people say rings, nobody ever brings up the championships.
You're making it about Super Bowls.
No, you're the only one making it not about Super Bowls.
No, it's recency
about
bias.
championships.
No,
recency bias. It's the 60s.
I did not think this is where the conversation would have gone.
You can't throw out a. Why does it? So when the Eagles organization, within how many years? Within like 7 years, is going to celebrate their 100-year anniversary.
Yes.
Do you think they're only going to celebrate 1966 on?
No, but that's different.
Why
That's
is
not
it
the conversation.
different?
Nobody ever says rings and counts championships.
You guys were not around. You guys were not around when the Phillies had their 100 year in 1983 and celebrated by going to the World Series and everything. They celebrated. They had an event like, let's commemorate that this team has a 100-year history.
That's awesome. But anytime people say rings, nobody's saying championship rings. They're saying Super Bowl rings.
Because they're trying to. It makes a good argument for you. If you're Emmitt Smith, it makes a good argument.
If it's
I'm not
any team,
Emmitt
it makes
Smith.
the
I'm an
same
Eagles fan.
argument.
You would think I should
No,
be with you, but I'm
Emmitt
not.
Smith, he's making that. It's unbelievable. That
You're
doesn't
the
count.
only person that
Doesn't
I've
count.
heard add the championships to it.
Wait a minute. We had yesterday. We had the commemoration of one of the greatest that broke the color barrier. Doesn't count. Too old. Too
What?
old. Doesn't count. Doesn't count.
That's not remotely
that
the
is
thing.
not
They
the point
played
at
doesn't
all.
count.
Series.
We can't go back that far. It's not the modern era.
That is not the
You
point
can try
at
all you want to make this dumb argument, but you're not going to
It's
win.
not the modern era. My gosh.
You're the only person saying this.
Championships don't count.
You're the only person making this case.
World starts in 67.
Somebody's got to do it. Look, somebody's got to do it, and Johnny's the guy that's going to do
my
it.
Somebody doesn't have to do it.
All right, coming up next, we'll get back to the Phillies. Alec Bohm said something post-game yesterday, Johnny, that makes me think maybe we're growing up a bit.
Oh, jeez.
It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli, Bill Colarulo, and Ray Dunn. They have a lot to say.
in the conversation of rings.
We're now being called Cowboys fans.
I love it because it's pro Eagles. So,
Okay.
John, sure.
Okay, now I'm going to tell you this is not my answer. I wasn't smart enough to come up with this with you two clowns. And I'm not being respectfully when I say clowns.
Sure.
Ask Connor and Andrew what is in the rafters at the stadium.
The championships as well.
Do they just have the Super Bowls? Or do they have the NFL championships are up? And by the way, this is one I did not know. And thank to I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry about it. Avalu. I don't know if that's an abbreviation or something. Avalu. He goes, every NFL franchise lists their championships in their stadiums.
Yeah, we're not
And
saying
hangs them.
wipe them
Nobody's-
from
yeah.
history.
No, but they hang them.
Oh, but
they hang them in the stadium.
John,
They're real.
When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, it was, oh my God, we finally won a Super
You
Bowl.
know
Not
why?
wow, we won our
Andrew,
fourth championship.
You're being ridiculous. It's because there were people like me who were 52 years old and finally saw one. There were guys who were 75, 70, and finally saw one. That's what that was about. That was about. My dad didn't have that.
Yeah, but a lot of people look at Super Bowls.
I do. They
and the
can.
Super Bowl
and I didn't,
era.
And I didn't say they can't. But you can't cherry pick one thing if you're Emmitt Smith because every NFL team displays NFL championships in their banners.
Right, because it's part of their history, and they're going to display
Correct.
it, and we're not going to pretend like it didn't happen. That's not the point of the argument. But for the entirety of our lifetimes, and people older than us, the argument has always been about Super Bowl wins.
It's like anybody in Connor in 80, that when we won in 80, it was so big because the Phillies hadn't won. And it was because, and the World Series had been around forever.
Right.
And the Phillies hadn't won. And in 80, the big deal was not because it was the World Series era, it was because it was a championship. There's the teams all celebrate it for a reason. They all count. You don't just discount them. Well, we didn't call it the Super Bowl, so it doesn't count.
I mean, a billion people have made this argument, and I've never
And
heard
they can.
Okay.
Because because that's their lifetime. That's what they're looking at. Especially if you're 30 or 35. It actually absolutely would matter to you.
It's not your lifetime. It's not my father's lifetime. It's not like it was 20 years ago.
I understand,
and all
but I
of a sudden
don't
it flipped.
discount history either.
We're not discounting
you are,
history.
No, you absolutely are.
I was joking when I said none of that stuff matters.
No, but I'm saying is
it
it
matters
does-
as a part of the history. But when somebody says how many rings he got, nobody says 5. Nobody. I've never heard in
If
my
you're
life
talking
an
about-
Eagles fan say we have 5
You know what
rings.
people didn't do? They didn't go around making memes. They didn't go around. There was a world before your phone, and people does. And yes,
if I have a conversation with a listener on this airways for 10 years,
because
it's
they're
rings.
not. They weren't around. Because they weren't around. You do acknowledge it.
I'm not saying you shouldn't acknowledge the championship. It's just this conversation that we are having right now. When somebody says we have 5 Super Bowls, you only have 2. Nobody says, well, we have also 3 championships, so we have 4 equal. Nobody's ever said
You won
that.
a World Series in the wild card era. That doesn't count as much. Wild card era doesn't count as much. You didn't win your. But people do.
Hey,
People
I'm
do.
Sure.
Oh gosh, they won the World Series, but they were a wild card. That's a wild card era.
Back in the day, it was a lot harder with a World Series because only 2 teams
and there are
made
people
it
that
in
make that argument.
each league. Yeah,
and there are people that make that stupid argument. Believe me,
all right.
lots of the dopes. We're going to take down those banners. Eagles.
I never said to take down
Andrew
the
and
banners.
Connor when they put on their Cowboys T-shirts.
You're spinning the conversation.
Take down
You are spinning the conversation. Nobody has ever said
take them down.
that they have 5 total rings.
Take
Nobody.
them down.
Eagles fans, all ages.
Andrew, the Eagles say it in their stadium. They say it in their
They
stadium.
hang a banner that they won the championship, John.
They did because they were the champions. They don't say they have 2 Super Bowl banners.
Yeah.
And they have 3 NFL championship banners. The fact that there was no Super Bowl back then, that was the Super Bowl.
The everyday man has a conversation about rings.
And now you
nobody
speak for the
says,
everyday man.
Yes, we do.
You
Yes.
do. That is good. Connor, let me just tell you, from the past thing with your Brandon Marsh thing, you are not speaking for the everyday man.
Screw that.
You are speaking
Screw
for,
that.
you're
Stop.
on Connor Island.
Stop. You
You're on
can't just
Connor
go
Island.
Brandon Marsh because your point is insane and you're trying to turn it to some
Connor,
Phillies
it's
thing that
not
has
more
nothing to do
insane
with
than
this.
back in Brandon Marsh
That's
land.
not what we're talking about, John. Stop trying to backdoor me into an
No,
argument.
it's the way it is.
Just because you can't come up with a point to make
So-
yours
no,
that
the
anyone agrees with.
My point's perfectly made.
All right, we'll
the
move
Eagles
on
acknowledge.
because now you've gone outside the point to try and come after
So
me
the
for
Eagles-
something.
well,
the Eagles
it's-
The
you know,
Eagles
sorry.
have 5 rings.
It's all right. Let's go, Brandon. Come on there. Let's do it.
It's amazing.
Give it Brandon Marsh.
if you have to go to a different argument, you're clearly
Connor,
wrong.
I
and
didn't
can't
have to
make
go to
one.
a different argument. You won't
just
acknowledge
did.
the real argument.
Oh my God, John.
That the Eagles
Move
have 5.
on.
They have the banners up in the stadium. That's why they acknowledge them.
Has
they
Alec
count them.
Boehm grown up?
Why do you say that?
We clearly have.
No, we haven't. We have not.
Post game yesterday,
We're like kids in the playroom.
had some nice things to say about his struggles that he's had.
Okay.
Now, it all depends how you back it up, right? Like if you go
Sure.
for your next 20, none of it really matters. But he talked after the game yesterday, And he talked about how he was really struggling, and then he has a really big hit yesterday, right? RBI single. He says that's the game right there. And this was after he grounded into an inning-ending double play. You think, oh, there goes my chance. You can either let that one go away and ruin the rest of the day, or just keep playing the game that gives you another opportunity. He talked about how he's very humbled right now. He said, quote, it's a very humbling game, and I'm feeling very humble right now. And he continued to say that he just wants to enjoy playing baseball. He said life can be a lot. Oh, no, that was Brandon Marsh. Life can be a lot harder. Or Bryce Harper, excuse me. But he talks about how if he and Brandon Marsh were playing up to 3/4 of what we're capable of and we're hitting 8th and 9th, we have a really good lineup because we're not 8 and 9 hole hitters. It's just that simple. I think lately we've kind of just been outs. And that's why we're so frustrated about it, because we know we're way better than what we've been. I think when this thing all comes together, you're going to see a pretty deep lineup, which that's kind of what we're all expecting. Now, those are great things to say.
Those are great things to say.
I'm humbled.
But then his behavior during the game.
Yes.
Tapping the top. If there's one player in look, it's Marsh number one, then it's Bohm. That display for extended seasons, 0 plate awareness on the strike zone, it's those two. Showing up the umpire, tapping his helmet, though he was correct.
He was correct.
He was absolutely correct. The umpire should then be tapping his head every time that Alec Bohm is swinging at something that is a foot out of the strike zone, which he does often. So to me, that stuff, that's immaturity. That's immature.
Right.
I'm going to show he has the nerve to say I'm going to show up the umpire over understanding the strike zone. He's the one guy who doesn't need to deliver that message.
I just like the quotes he had after the game. Now, hopefully, it continues. Hopefully, he continues to play well, because it's great. The only other time this year we loved what he had to say was after he had a good game on opening day. Hopefully, he has a little
I hope
spark.
he does. Everybody's rooting for him to do well. And by the way, the fans
showed up again yesterday.
I'm giving the fans yesterday. They're giving him support when he does well. And even when Brandon Marsh hit a Sunday Beer League pop fly, they celebrated for him.
Some of us can rake.
That's great. Yeah, he rakes.
Now. Coming up next, Amy Fadul joins us for the rest of the show. Tim Kurkjian joins us at 9:10. I'm curious to hear what Amy has to think about all of our topics today. That comes your way next. Kincade Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Howie being aggressive. I'm Connor Thomas, and Howie Roseman met with the media yesterday to preview the upcoming NFL draft. He talked about being aggressive, which is something that he has become known for with the Birds in his current position as GM. Here's what Howie had to say about that.
For me, I think that being aggressive has always been part of my DNA, and feel fortunate that I have the people around me who support that. It allows us to take chances and to try to be aggressive.
Now, the question that we don't know, it seems like nobody knows with Howie Roseman until he makes the moves, is what that aggressive move is going to be. We will keep an eye on that as the draft gets closer. Next Thursday is the first round. Phillies took down the Giants 6-4 last night behind home runs from JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper. Alec Bohm also had a big RBI single to put the Phillies ahead in the 6th inning. Game 3 of the 4-game series tonight at 6:45. Robbie Ray on the mound for the Giants, Aaron Nola for the Phillies. The Flyers fell to the Blue Jackets 3-0 last night. They'll play their last game of the season tomorrow in Buffalo. We'll talk to Amy Fadul for the entire 9 o'clock hour, so she'll join the guys next. Tim Kurkjian joins us at 9:10. This update's brought to you by Moyer Indoor Outdoor Services. Follow Andrew Salciunas' lead and get a jump on a lush green lawn this spring right now. Go to eMoyer.com for free estimates. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best draft coverage of the 2025 Birds NFL Draft. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
We want to hear from you. Text us at 610-632-0975.
Abdul. Amy, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for adjusting, everyone.
Did you have fun at the Phillies game yesterday?
Yes, we did. Big time. Great.
Did you survive the howling winds?
It
That
was
looked terrible.
aggressive.
Yeah, can you tell us?
It calmed down once the rain came through, but when we sat down, Baker lost his hat walking across Patterson.
no.
Like a couple. Yeah, and then also on the way home too, he lost his hat. Well, that was a different reason because he was running for joy. But no, it was very windy. So then we were trying to all figure out as we were walking in. There's a big bunch of us all walking in, obviously, at the Phillies game. And people are like, how's it going? And people are like throwing stuff up in the air to see if it's blowing out to right because we're very concerned.
Well, you got to make your bets.
Yes, and we also want to make sure, exactly, want to make sure that the
You
home
are
runs.
looking live.
Yes, here it is. So it was great seeing people like it was like some kind of golf course. They were picking up stuff and be like, I think it's going out to right. I don't know. It's a crosswind. I'm like, you guys have no idea.
Throw garbage.
And we're also walking in.
Yeah, once you're in the ballpark, look at the flags.
Kevin Cooney said he'd been, all the years he's been at Citizens Bank Park, he never remembers a windier time.
The flag. So when we sat down, we had a
Even
direct
chilly
view.
night. He said it wasn't.
We had a
that
direct view because we were behind home plate, elevated a little bit, and looking at those flags, I was like, this is crazy wind. I mean, every single one you can read the year perfectly because that's how straight.
I mean,
they
Trey
were.
Turner's ball is a home run.
Oh, absolutely.
Off the bat, you guys jumped, right?
Yeah, we jumped as
Yeah.
soon as because the crack was just so pure.
And then
Like,
you
that's-
realized that there was
the wind.
just
Get
like
that.
80 mile an hour
Yeah.
winds.
Whoever
Connor,
the guy
that
was
clip
that was
that.
walking in was going right. And I was like, no, it's coming right back in. Is
Connor,
that-
clip that for out of context. please.
Yeah, that'll be in there.
The crack was just so pure.
It was so
It
pure.
was
That's
just
beautiful.
so pure.
By the way, you're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN, HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. I just want a tie bow on it. Amy, do you recognize championships as rings?
Yes.
Did you
No,
hear
that
the
wasn't the
conversation?
answer.
All right. Well, okay. Sorry.
I'm confused.
Let's get this all right. Emmitt Smith is upset with hearing
I know.
Go
it's
Birds.
Amazing.
Isn't it?
Which is
wild?
great.
Don't you just want to go up to him anytime you see him? If you ever
Go
see him,
And say Go Birds?
Even-
He's now welcomed it. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Even if you're not an Eagles fan, I think just because people hate the Cowboys, if I was a Panther, whatever fan, I would just walk up to the man and say, "Go Birds."
Yeah.
Don't let
at this point.
let on what makes you vulnerable.
So great.
So
It's awesome.
he eventually said, by the way, they
Yeah.
only have 2, we have 5. John says, no, we're tied.
Eagles have 5. Eagles have 5 championships. They have 5 championships.
What? No.
Yes.
No.
The Eagles have 5
I
championships.
understand what you're saying.
No, I understand what you're saying. Now, if he says just 5 Super Bowls,
He means Super Bowls because Emmitt Smith is not 80.
okay.
So,
should the Eagles bring up all proudly
They do
before the
But when
Green Bay game?
But when I
We're the
walk
only
into
team.
the
We're
when
the
I
only
walk
team that
into
beat
that
Green
place,
Bay.
do I see anything?
Yes.
In the same.
Yes,
in
you see the
sa-
championship.
The
I see it.
1960
They're right up there.
championship
Yeah,
banner.
but
yeah.
right next to the one
No,
Lombardi.
they have 48 and 49 too.
Where's the one Lombardi? Or 2 Lombardis?
Well, they're in order by year.
Right. No, but I walk in. There was a showcase at the NovaCare complex, and it has 2 Lombardis in it.
No, it has the Lombardis, absolutely, but it is the championship banners hang in the building.
Right,
in
they're
their
in the
stadium.
building. Not in the same place, though. When I walk in, right there are 2 Lombardi trophies. They have a special case for them. They're so excited because they
No,
can
I'm
add
not
to
talking
it.
about
There's nothing in
the
there for
office
1960.
space. I'm talking about the stadium. In the stadium,
Oh,
they
yeah,
are just
okay.
listed just like every other championship.
Sure, just like I walk into Rupp Arena and I see Final
Right.
Fours, but I don't recognize those anymore as much as I recognize the ones that say National Championship. I get a banner for that. Cool. Doesn't count. Not the same thing. Championships mean Super Bowls. That's what Emma was talking
Yeah,
about.
but they didn't have a banner for finishing second. They have a banner for...
Sure they do. There's
NFC
NFC
champions.
titles.
48, 49, 60.
But there's banners up there for the NFC title.
Oh, no, well, they do. I don't like that.
2004, I think they
Like
have,
the
right?
Phillies do that. They put the divisions up. They don't just
Yeah,
put
but I'm
world
cool with pennant, like pennant or
I'm fine with pennant.
NFC championship. I'm cool with that.
Just as long as you
In
don't
the
hang up
context-
wild card.
Yeah, well, it's
And they
it's-
took that down quickly.
No. It's in the corner. You can see it. Shawnee found it last night.
Oh, they just hit it somewhere else.
Did he
So
really?
he's the one. He goes, "There's the wild card banner," and I was like, and I look over, and it's like right on. So we were like in the
About
Hall
that,
of Fame.
Johnny.
We were in the Hall of Fame club, and so we're right behind home plate. Love those seats. Great, thanks. Shout out NBC Sports Philadelphia. So we're looking straight out, and they're all the pennants
And he
are this
found it.
way. And he goes, there it is. And so right on that corner, there's the bell, and right if you're facing the bell, it's to the right.
Is
of
it on its own particular
So
pole?
he's like, there's 2 wild cards. I was like, Sean's like, they only have 2 wild cards, but one they went on to win the 2022. So
Right,
that's
they got
what's
to the
not
World
up there.
Series.
So it's light blue, and it's 2023, and there's next to it, and we're trying to read it. Of course, it was windy, so you could see it pretty clearly.
Yeah.
1981. And I was like, the wild card
that was the
doesn't.
split season.
Yes.
And they did have a wild card.
Okay.
Well, they didn't have
Well, it
wild
wasn't
card.
a wild
They
card.
had
It
a
was
first
like-
half champ, second half champ.
Exactly. So I guess these were kind of like asterisk. I don't know.
That's
I don't
wild.
Know. So yeah,
We have
so
this
it's still
poll here,
there.
so we might as well put something up
It's
on it.
still there.
That
He's
is
the one that
wild.
found. I thought for sure it was gone, and we were sitting up there. and he goes, "There it is," and he didn't know. Obviously, he didn't know what 81 was. I was like,
Right,
well, the
right,
wild card.
Your
wasn't
son is
until-
a star, by the way.
Yeah.
Is now all of Philadelphia continually.
Oh yeah.
He shows up at a game. They have to point him out.
Damn right, they
He's a
have
star.
to.
Yeah, it's crazy. He was. I got a lot of comments like, "What's he wearing? Is he wearing like a hat under his hat?" I was like, "No, it was the Liam Castellanos headband, and he likes to wear." Listen, the
That's
kid's
awesome.
got swag.
Now, by the way, I do want to say, John, you are not alone. You do have at least one person on your side. Chris.
I get what you're saying.
How many do you have on your side? I don't see any.
Everyone.
Do you want me to
No, I
read the
don't see
text
any.
line?
Yeah. Well, the text line, yes.
I think
Yes.
I understand what you're saying. They do recognize their championships as well. They should, because that's how it was done in the 60s and the 40s. But for Emmitt Smith's context, he's talking about
He's talking Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it because it's.
But yeah, I mean, I
it
always
serves his
I'll
argument.
recognize anything. But I think for
But I
those
recognize
guys,
his
it was
argument.
always the one. When people would talk about, oh, you don't have any championships. And
Yeah.
people were like, oh, I got 1960. It almost sounded like
Why
were
are we
the
saying if
also
you're going to
ran.
brag on somebody, like to me, I always go like, I can as a Flyers fan bring up 74 and 75.
Right.
I cannot fail to acknowledge that they
Right.
did, but I can't brag about it to anybody else because now we're at 50 years next
yeah,
month.
it's incredible.
Next
But
month.
That's right.
they've won 2 Stanley Cups.
50
which
years
is what's
ago.
still recognized.
2 Stanley Cups.
Today.
It's still recognized.
It was
as an
never
actual-
not recognized. That was always what they called it. That's all they called it.
There we go.
All right. So today has been a big draft day. I want to ask you this question that we asked the audience today, and we'll get back to our text line here momentarily. In this upcoming draft, the Eagles obviously have a lot of areas where they need to address. Not necessarily desperate, because you
Right.
still have a good roster, but a lot of depth guys and maybe some starters, depending on who you believe in and who you don't believe in. What position do you believe is most important for the Eagles to hit on in this draft where they make an immediate impact? And I'm not saying rookie of the year like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean were 2 top 5 finalists. I'm just saying, like, this guy went out there, he played well. You noticed, hey, they got something good here moving forward with this kid.
Yeah, it's interesting because now that the Sixers season has concluded, I've been much more diving into the draft. I've done much more birds hurdles recently, so I've been really kind of deep diving into a lot of the prospects. And if you look at all the reports of the top 30 visits, and some of them count for top 30 visits, some of them are counting for hometown visits, which I think is important to distinguish because you look at them. The Eagles' tradition is to build through the trenches. Almost all of these, you're looking at like 70 to 80% of their visits are going to be guys along the O-line, edge, or defensive line. But I think really it's important for them to hit on the defensive line. I think that is something that we have seen really needs to build through that kind of particular, play someone alongside, whether it's Nolan Smith or Jalen Carter, in my opinion. I think you have to go. I think you have the guy that's the anchor on the other side with Jalen Carter. That's a guy that you can't miss with. I just don't know that guy's at 32. That's the problem as far as like an immediate impact player. I think there are immediate impact players in different positions. I think you could get a good corner that might fill that spot, like Hairston. At 32, he could be available. He did show out at the combine, but I think he's a late first rounder to early second round. And he's from a wonderful university, obviously. But I think that
You have no bias there.
yeah, complete bias. But I do think that, when I look at all of either it's an edge prospect or a defensive line prospect, I'm thinking like that guy, the guy that's going to be the immediate impact isn't there at 32. So what do? You try to trade? They've got 20 draft picks in the next 2 years.
right.
So it's like they've got a lot of draft capital. So I don't know if there's the players that I think of, they're all going to be gone by 32.
So-
they're all in the 20s.
Does this draft intrigue you more?
Yeah, because of that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because of that. Because of the depth that there is out there, certainly across the lines, both offensive and defensive, but because the way that the Eagles can really formulate a good plan. Like, we're going to go in here, we've got this, and this. We can turn it into either a higher pick or a lot of times at 32 you see teams just trade back out and acquire more. But I think that they might actually move up. They've got 20 picks in 2 years.
They have the right to do it. I remember back in 2016, like people were so excited for the Wentz draft, right?
Oh my gosh!
But here's the deal: you knew that they were getting one or the other.
Right. That
Like,
was.
but
It was.
That's
yeah.
not intriguing to me.
Yeah.
See,
Like,
now, to
this
me-
is intriguing.
To me,
Even the top half of the draft, when you're thinking about like, oh, the Titans are obviously going to choose a quarterback. Okay, but then beyond that,
Yeah. Then who else? Yeah.
I felt sick for 3 days because I waffled Goff Wentz.
Oh, did you?
Goff
Oh,
Wentz
yeah.
as a fan, and I'm going like for 3 days. That whole draft week, I felt like I wanted to vomit as a fan because I'm like, one of these
Because it's
guys,
like, yeah, it's
one's
almost
going
like-
to work out, one's not.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
by
and-
history would tell you that.
Yeah.
I
Did it feel
don't-
like Goff was the lock to go number one though?
yeah,
Like it never.
It seemed that way.
Yeah.
it did
yeah,
seem
I
that
thought
way.
that.
I
was,
always kind of thought Wentz was
he was
destined.
always going to be number 2.
Now the year was it the year before that? 2 years to do the deal. Sal Powell termed on,
Oh, yeah,
on
do
this
the deal.
station.
That was
That was-
14, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
I think
so
it was
2 years ago. 2 years
2 years
before Marcus
before.
Marcus Mariota.
Do the
And I,
deal.
by the way, I was vomiting about that one too, going,
Because
please
I know
don't do this.
Chip Kelly. Oh, that was like 2.
And that was the year they got Marcus Smith. We talked
Yeah,
about it
Marcus
yesterday.
Smith. Yeah,
that
it's
that
good.
was really
Woo!
fun. All right, give us one text. Oh, never mind.
Oh, yeah,
Music's
the
hitting.
music's playing. They're
Oscars.
playing you
it's
off.
time. Yep. Somebody get the hook.
Yeah, and he doesn't even like do it subtly.
Oh, just bang! Here's the music.
We got this guy Tim Kurkjian who's calling in next.
Yeah,
segment.
That's always
Yeah.
good.
Maybe
Looking
important.
forward to that. Tim Kurkjian joins us coming up next to talk about the Phillies, who are above 500, but it's not been totally fun. And I'm curious what he has to say about when you realize if a player's struggling or just doesn't have it. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Amy with us for the rest of the show as well. Tim Kurkjian next here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic, and we're joined by Amy Fadul for the rest of the show today. But now also joining us on the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business get you ready for what's next. This man, one of my favorites, covers Major League Baseball for ESPN.
I like his kid a little.
Yeah, he's okay.
A little.
Tim Kurkjian joins us. Tim, good morning. How are we today?
I'm well, fellas. How you doing?
We're doing fantastic. It was nice to see the Phillies get a win yesterday. The way you've been following this Phillies team so far this season, have you been able to sort of get a feel on this team? Because they have a plus 500 record, but it also hasn't necessarily been smooth even in the wins. What have been some of the positives and, of course, negatives for the Phillies so far in your eyes?
Well, this is a really good team. They just haven't played really well so far, and they're still 10-7, and they're right there. So you got to take that. I mean, the positive, of course, Jesus Luzardo has been tremendous. Imagine him being this good all year, and you put him with the rest of those guys. On the flip side, Aaron Nola has not been very good, as we all know, but that's going to change. He's a really good starting pitcher, and he's going to turn this around quickly. But if I were a Philly fan, I'd be feeling really good about things right now. I mean, Alec Boehm hit 8th last night. He's hitting under 200. Trey Turner really hasn't gotten it going yet. Brandon Marsh is like 4 for 40. Those things are going to change, and this is going to be a really good offensive team very soon. And the starting pitching is going to be able to match up with just about any in baseball once everyone gets healthy and gets going in the right direction. So I went into the season thinking the Dodgers had the best team in baseball and the Phillies had the second best team in baseball. That's how I saw it opening the season, and I really haven't seen enough so far to change my mind dramatically on either one.
Tim, how much do you believe Rob Thompson really controls making out his lineup card? Because on Monday afternoon, he did a soliloquy on why Brandon Marsh needed 3 days off. He needed the mental clarity. He needed a reset. He needed to take the pressure off himself. And then the next day, he comes out and he's like, yeah, no, he's going back in the lineup today. Like, it seems as if almost somebody else is intervening over what the manager thinks might be best for the player.
Well, John, that happens everywhere.
I know it
as
does.
You know, all across Major League Baseball, somebody else is making strong suggestions to the manager as to what we should do here. Keep in mind when Bruce Bochy took over with the Rangers and won the World Series in 2023, it's in part because they told him, you make out the lineup, you make the decisions. But given that Dave Dombrowski's in charge of the Phillies, and given that he is an old-school guy in every way, I believe that he's going to let Rob Thompson make the decisions on the lineup for the most part, because that's what the manager is supposed to do. So I wouldn't worry about Rob Thompson or the lineup. It's all going to turn as soon as some guys start to hit.
Yeah, and Tim, to that end, watching the game last night, you know, Brandon Marsh has had a little bit of bad luck. Some of those balls were hard hit, and I know that kind of falls a little bit short, not a lot of bit short, for different people, because it's like, I don't care if he hit it hard, it didn't do anything. I mean, one had an RBI, but that is a good sign, I would think, for as a batter to at least be able to make good, solid contact and be feeling good, like, all right, it is coming. And I thought for Brandon Marsh, that's probably what he's been feeling right now.
Absolutely. With players, it always turns. No one goes 4 for 40 the whole season, and then suddenly he comes out of it. Sometimes it takes a little bloop or a bunt or anything, and the guy starts to go again. Let's not ever forget, this is the hardest hitting environment in Major League history. We have never seen stuff like this on a daily basis. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't be disappointed when a good hitter isn't hitting.
Right.
I'm just telling you that the game is the hardest game in the world to play in my mind, and hitting a baseball today is harder than it has ever been. So I never really worry about a hitter going through a bad slump, because they all do. Unlike, I love basketball, I love the NBA. No great NBA jump shooter goes 1 for 30 from three-point land. Nobody does that. But in baseball, happens all the time because of the degree of difficulty of the game.
Now, I do want to ask this question, if we're sticking with Brandon Marsh or anybody, over your years covering Major League Baseball, at what point, maybe in a season or in somebody's career, do you say, all right, this guy's struggling, or maybe there's a book out on this guy? Do you sort of have a plate appearance number or a time in the season or a time in their career? Because Brandon Marsh has been a talking point for about 3 years now here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I don't think there is a magic number. Let's not forget how many times this time last year I got asked what's wrong with Aaron Judge. And then he went on to have maybe the greatest season a right-handed hitter has ever had. The light goes on at different times for different players, and everything turns. Now, when you look at the track record of Brandon Marsh, it needs to be better. Maybe it's time to recognize that he's not going to be a really good hitter in the major leagues. But you can't say, well, we can only look at it at this point. Never forget that Paul O'Neill, for instance, with the Yankees, was a much better hitter in his 30s than he was in his 20s. Don't forget that Davey Lopes and Raul Ibanez hit more homers in their 40s than they did in their 20s. Only in baseball can this happen, where a guy can't figure it out for literally 10 to 12 years, and then suddenly the light goes on. So I'm not giving up on anyone yet until the numbers just suggest, and the bat speed and everything suggests, this is not going to happen. I don't think we're even close to that point for Brandon Marsh.
Tim, why do some organizations say, if you're under 22, you're 21, we're going to bring you up. We're going to let you sink or swim at the major league level and learn how it's done there. And others are extremely worried about giving you that chance to come up, almost like they're afraid of you failing. I don't want to skew the argument there, but do you believe it's an organizational philosophy, an individual person who runs the organization's philosophy?
Yeah, I think it's an organizational. However, what we need to do is not just have a blanket organizational philosophy. We're not bringing guys up early, or we are. You have to look at the player. You have to get to know the player. And, John, this is what we've gotten away from. We've left out the human element of too many situations. We look at his numbers in the minor leagues and we say, he is ready. But you got to get to know the kid to know if he does go up there and fail for the first time in his life, how is that going to affect him? And then others have ordinary numbers in the minor leagues, but you know it's coming, and you know his personality is so strong that even if he does fail, he's only going to get better from that failure. That's why we need to pay more attention to who the actual person is, rather than throw a blanket over the entire organization and say, this is how we do things, no exception.
I mean, they're clamoring for Justin Crawford. I don't think that
yes.
You can't go anywhere when people are watching a game and they're seeing what's going on in the outfield, and they're thinking, here's a guy that has the pedigree, and I think, Tim, to your point, is a guy that is going to be able to mentally be so prepared, given his family history, about what he needs to do if he does struggle. But obviously, I think that he'll be up sooner rather than later, and then they go on to Aiden Miller as well. I do want to go back to Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler a little bit too. You have the ace in Wheeler, and then the number 2 in Nola, and they've both looked a little bit, I don't know, shaky's too probably strong a word for Wheeler, but these are guys that I would think that you're not going to worry about. But now you're looking at Taijuan Walker in the back half of that rotation, probably going to go back down to the bullpen. Rangers coming up. How do you see this rotation shaking out?
Well, they got 6 starting pitchers, and even if Taijuan Walker goes to the bullpen, they still have 5 high-end quality starting pitchers, and not too many teams have that. Look, Zach Wheeler's great. He's not good. He's great, and he's durable, and he's going to give him 230 innings again. Aaron Nola is a really good starting pitcher. This is going to change. Christopher Sanchez is ridiculously good when he is right. And then you add Luzardo into this mix, and you get Ranger Suarez back. This is the best part of the whole team when everybody is completely right. And to say it's better than this team offensively is really saying something. That's why you have to have great faith in the Phillies. This rotation is going to be good, and they're going to score runs, and that's a pretty good starting point.
Tim, we know you love baseball so much so that not only do you join random local shows like us and you do your hits for ESPN, but you got the podcast as well. Is this a great game or what with your son, Jeff, and now 2 times a week? Tell us a little bit about the podcast.
Well, now it's 3 times a week. As
Whoa!
this week.
The season is upon us, everyone.
3, yes.
I'm telling you, don't overwork the son.
No.
You
that's
don't
what you
overwork
do.
him, Tim. Come on.
That's what you do.
Well, he's completely overworked because not only is he the co-host, he's the producer.
Perfect.
He's the director. He's the technical advisor. He's the marketing man.
I heard it's
all
not
stupid Pop-Pop does is provide content about baseball.
See, great content.
He's learning about the media, though. You got to wear 85 hats.
Yeah, but I heard Pop-Pop's taking like an 80-20 split, too. I mean, I'm just hearing rumors.
All right, let me tell you about the split. It's 0-0. Okay, we've been at this for 2 years. Not the point. The point is today we have Jim Boeheim on our show. Is running right now. Is our Wednesday podcast interview. Jeff and I went to Syracuse and interviewed Jim Boeheim about baseball. Huge baseball fan. Obviously, huge basketball guy, Hall of Famer. Told us a couple Kobe Bryant stories that just made you tingle. He's a scratch golfer. He's a great tennis player. He's hilariously funny, and he can't palm a basketball, which just amazes me that a guy who's 6'4", played at a high level in college, can't palm a basketball. These are the little things that we learned about Jim Boeheim. He was hilarious. He was delightful. He was insightful. And the reason we're going 3 days a week is we didn't want to go 30 minutes and then pile a 45-minute interview after that. Most people aren't up for an hour and 15 minutes, so we decided to break it up. So Jim Boeheim's on today. All good.
It's a great podcast. Check it out. Is this a great game or what? Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Tim.
We always appreciate it, and we'll be bugging you down the road to talk about this fight and this team again.
Okay. Take care, guys. See you.
There he is, Tim Kurkjian on the Comcast Business Hotline. All right, coming up next will be another segment with Amy, and I want to talk some hoops with Amy. Kevin Durant? Question mark? Part 7. Jimmy Butler. That was fun to see.
Was it?
And a former potential trade who said something insane yesterday. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phillies bounce back. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Phillies had a bounce-back W last night over the Giants, 6-4 final. A couple of home runs from JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper. Very impressive considering the wind at the bank last night. Alec Boehm also had a big RBI single to put the Phils ahead in the 6th inning. Good to see from him. Game 3 of the 4-game series is tonight at 6:45. Robbie Ray will face Aaron Nola in the pitching matchup. Howie Roseman met with the media yesterday to preview the upcoming NFL draft, and he talked about, no shocker here, being aggressive. That's something Howie's become known for, and, he knows it.
For me, I think that being aggressive has always been part of my DNA, and feel fortunate that I have the people around me who support that. It allows us to take chances and to try to be aggressive.
We'll see what they do next Thursday when the NFL draft gets started. Flyers fell to the Blue Jackets 3-0 last night. They'll play their last game of the season tomorrow in Buffalo. Amy Fadul remains with the guys for the rest of the show. This update's brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. When you need a new water heater, choose one that's built to be the best. Choose Bradford White. I'm Connor Thomas on your home for the best draft coverage of the Birds 2025 NFL Draft, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia Sports.
Touchdown!
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic, and we're joined by Amy Fadul for the rest of the show. All right, I have a couple of basketball-related questions or nuggets, however you want to get into it. First, yesterday, Johnny and I were talking about just be ready for the Durant sweepstakes.
You knew it was coming again.
It's going to happen. Third straight coach fired?
Third straight
from the Suns.
I mean, honestly, how do you not get into the play-in?
I don't know how you don't get into the play-in tournament, but it's always somebody else's fault.
They're going to be paying 4 coaches next year.
Yeah,
they're going to be paying 4 head coaches.
They're like the opposite.
That's insane.
It is crazy.
Anything successful.
Do you believe there is a percentage chance, and what would that percentage be, that there's a Paul George Durant swap? I mean, be ready, right?
You're ready.
You're going to hear Shams report. The Sixers are one of the teams that are interested because Daryl Morey calls everybody.
Well,
as he should.
As he should. Listen, the only thing, I think it's more likely it would be a Bradley Beal, Paul George, just because, hey, come on down. Because of the way the money matches, and the Suns probably want to get off of that contract, and the Sixers then would take on a similar contract but 1 year less. You'd have to make something else work. I don't know that the Suns are going to take on 3 years of Paul George after they have now flamed out with some pretty amazing basketball players and guys that can really put up points when asked.
Right.
And so they're going to take a guy that doesn't do those things and is coming off an injury-filled season. I'm not going to say it's an impossible contract, because nothing's impossible in the NBA.
Yeah,
you see all these guys get moved and you think that it's not possible, but Paul George's contract is very hard now with 3 years on it, coming off an injury-filled year where he only played 41 games. And honestly, when people say 41,
you mean every season?
Yeah, people are like 41. I'm like, it seems like he played less, but it was 40. The three, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid, played less than 300 minutes together.
It just is.
That's less than 7 games.
No, it was. But the thing is, every one of us saw it coming. To some degree.
Correct. I don't know if you saw that. You saw it coming.
And Bradley Beal's going to play. I mean, it's just a swap to get out 1 year early.
So you mentioned
he's going to play 50 games a year, maybe 55, something like that. I don't know what he averages.
You mentioned Bradley
Doesn't
Beal.
seem like but it seems like he plays more than Paul George, but not much.
Not much. He gets hurt a lot too.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Bradley Beal. Did you see what was reported on him yesterday?
What?
So Chris B. Haynes, who does a great job covering the NBA, he was on the Phoenix radio station 98.7 Arizona Sports with John Gambadoro.
Good old John.
They asked Bradley Beal, Mike Budenholzer. Asked Bradley
Was it after happy hour before?
Asked Bradley Beal to try and play more like Drew Holiday, who is a 2-time NBA champion. Great
it's like
player.
If I was Bradley Beal, I would have extended my hand and been like, "Have you met me? Like, come on." Defensively, that's hilarious.
Here's the quote from Chris B. Haynes. So yes, you're right, because he's not. Drew Holiday is an elite defender.
Elite.
Here's the quote from Chris B. Haynes. This is apparently the words of Bradley Beal. "Don't ever disrespect me like that. Don't ever tell me to play like another player."
Wow.
Well, it's not like he said play like Max Strus. Right, the first random name that came in my head.
Model your game after somebody who's
a two-time two-time NBA champion in Drew Holiday.
I get what Bradley Beal's saying. That's a personal affront to him, but you haven't won squat.
Yeah, exactly.
You haven't done anything. You have one of the most insane contracts, because the Wizards hand out insane contracts, that is ever seen in the NBA. There's 2 players that have a no-trade clause, and one of them's Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
The other one's LeBron. Think about that. Bradley Beal? You look at yourself in the mirror, Bradley Beal. Don't compare me to another player. I'm going to compare you to somebody that you should be when you're not.
Right.
You're terrible.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, how
you have not earned that kind of.
How do you take offense to that?
You haven't earned it.
How do you take offense to that?
I don't understand it.
If you come to like Kevin Durant and say like, "I want you to play like someone," Kevin will be like, "No,
I'm Kevin Durant.
I'm going to go ahead and play like Kevin Durant."
The boss comes to us and goes, "I'd like you guys to do a little more like Dan Patrick."
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
Thank you. I'm not offended. I'm not offended.
Sounds good.
What is it that you like about it? I will try to exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
What is it?
See, that's the thing. Like, if Bradley
offended.
Beal was a true professional, he could have then taken it and been like, all right, well, I don't want to be compared to another player. What aspect of Drew Holiday's game do you want me to try to be better at?
Right. Shows you that maybe not everybody's a true professional.
Yes.
Bradley
Lastly,
Beal, I couldn't want him here less. I don't want anybody to misconstrue when I said that trade. I do not want that.
No.
Do
But
not
it could
like.
happen.
Do not like.
I hope
Yes, it could happen. They're going to get rid of that contract. He is so disinterested to be here and so disconnected with this
Paul George, you mean?
Paul George.
Yeah.
So they're going to get rid of him somehow.
For another
And
guy
there's
that
not
could be,
many-
You know
and
what?
there's
be
not
less
many-
connected.
Yeah,
Well-
you got to be more creative than Bradley Beal then.
I don't know what you're
Lastly,
gonna do.
Jimmy Butler still does it.
Sure he does.
Of course he does. Son of a. He is a.
That's not sustained this playoffs. I'm going to say it right now.
No, they're not.
Oh, I'm
making
sure he's going to be
some
out.
No, he
deal.
will. Yeah, he will not be
Hangnail
sustaining
will
that.
probably keep him out at
He
some
will not
point.
be
No, he'll
sustaining
play.
But like
Yeah.
when he had the Heat team on his back,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be like that.
Yeah,
right?
but he's not going to sit out games in the playoffs.
No,
he's
he
gonna
just
play.
it won't be that.
Yeah.
But he's Jimmy Butler. There he
All
is.
right,
That's what he loves.
Coming up next, we'll check our text line a little bit, see what the people are saying, and of course the key three, all here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Sixers president of basketball operations, Daryl Morey.
105 The Fanatic on this Wednesday morning. Amy Fadul is with us here in studio.
In the house.
The Phillies resumed their... Yeah, they did win, which was really nice. And Brandon Marsh made contact.
Hard contact.
What?
The third one was hard contact. He got an RBI in the first one.
No, the line drive, yes.
Yeah, it was hard contact.
The fly out to right field, he got the job done.
No, I'm talking about the last
Dude,
one.
when
Hard
you're
contact.
batting 100.
Yeah, you're looking for
No, we have it's the
anything.
Marsh line. We're going to see who goes below the Marsh line tonight. The Mendoza line's 200, twice as good as Marsh. Now, we used to judge people by. Now 100.
100, man.
And it's almost,
early.
it's 50 at bats. That's not small.
Nope.
So, this is another start for one Aaron Nola today. I need to see. He had a quality start the last time, right? Are we back-to-back quality starts?
Yeah, 2 times ago. I don't know if he went far enough for the
all right,
quality
sorry.
start.
The St. Louis
Sunday, he got
Cardinals.
Saturday,
Cardinals
he got
only went
screwed.
5 innings.
But he's looked better. He just needs a little run support.
I'm going to need, I know it's the crew chief behind the plate tonight, but my God, there was some really, and I know that Alvarado didn't have his best stuff, but none of those things should have happened.
Some questionable calls yesterday for sure.
And then the day before as well.
I need to see like a good Nola outing today. Like
Absolutely.
You
didn't see one the other day.
You need to see that. So, like, Wheeler had a little bit of a shaky-ish for him start, and I thought you saw him better. And then I think you need to see Nola better.
Like Sunday was not Wheeler. That was bad.
That's
that was
the thing.
bad.
But you're saying, all right.
And there you go. But Nola, I think he got screwed by his offense the other day. I'd take that any time.
Yeah, I mean, he can't have 93 pitches in 5 innings.
In 5 innings.
Well, he's tended to do that a lot.
Yeah, because he nibbled.
He's always going to give up a solo home
7
run.
strikeouts,
He's
4
the nibbler.
walks, right? That was his last
Chalk
outing.
one up. Put one up on the board.
Right.
There's a home run. There's a solo
He
home
had
run
0
that's coming.
in the last one. So maybe there will be back-to-back 0 home run starts for Aaron Nola.
They will
tonight.
close public schools if that happens.
By the way, they're facing left-handed pitcher Robbie Ray, so that means Marsh is back on the pine today. Is that correct?
Oh, no, it depends on his psychological makeup.
No,
We'll talk about it
I think
today.
he sits.
Yeah,
He should.
So is left field, because again, last time against the Cardinals, Marsh played left field against the left-handed starting pitcher.
And then we saw how that went.
Horribly.
Incompetent.
Yeah, I think you're going to try to. I mean, if you're really trying to get his headspace right, you're not going to put him against.
That's
the
what I
lefty.
would say. So there is the one school thought of, all right, he did get decent bat on ball
Right.
yesterday. Let's get
Maybe
him out
get it
there
going.
again. But if you face a lefty and you
And
for
you
your
know-
career have sucked against
Yes.
left-handed pitching,
You know you're like 190 against lefties.
I wouldn't put him. I would sit him today.
Yeah, I think he sits today.
Now, is it Kepler and left, or is it the Edmundo Sosa experiment?
I enjoyed that. It was exciting. We had a great little text right after it happened.
Yes,
Then he made the catch, and I was like, let's go.
Rojas just needs to
And then
catch the ball the next inning.
Oh, yeah.
Sosa needs to know not
and
to
the left
screen.
fielder needs to know
Yeah.
you
Yes.
do not talk.
Well, I
and that's
think
the worry of an
that's
inexperienced
now,
left
that's a
fielder.
check.
Do
Right?
not talk. So he's learning.
We're telling Shawnee. Shawnee's like, what was he saying? I was like,
He's saying, you,
nothing.
you,
He's saying, like, it's you. And Shawnee's like, what's he supposed to say? Zero.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yes, center
Not a
fielder
thing.
does the talking.
Dr.
And
Evil.
he's
Zip
not
it.
used to that.
I think it will be Kepler tonight, though. Kepler's been
You do
swinging.
think it'll be
He has been swinging the bat well.
Swinging the
You
bat
know what,
well.
too? They talked last night, and it's where when you hear a broadcast and you hear good analysts working, and last night it was a real good game, the insight on Kepler's at-bats and how he's really shortened up that swing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been spending extra time, Taryn says, spending a ton of time extra in the cage, and you're seeing the results of it.
Yeah, and that's
to me,
important.
that's insightful stuff.
Now,
Kyle-
here's the
yeah,
other question.
Kyle Long's getting his money's worth with this team right now. Bad
Bryson
coach.
Stott. He's been hitting the ball pretty
Yes.
well.
Yes, he has.
Even his outs recently have looked better. Strung 2 hits together yesterday, a base hit the game before with a walk, a base hit with the RBI, the final game of the Cardinals series. But he's been batting leadoff the last couple of games. Are you going to do the drastic, you bat leadoff against a righty, but you're batting 8th against a lefty? Or is he completely out of the lineup today because you're looking to get Sosa out there somehow?
I'd want to have Sosa out.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't think that he can go from 1 to 8, and I think that's one of the
That's
reasons.
drastic.
That's
Why do
a
you
little
think
much.
that? You think like psychologically?
Yes, I think.
Okay.
I mean,
Because I know that the other day they talked about on the Phillies broadcast that dropping from 4 to 8 was a little drastic.
it is.
Like there's
There's not a game that's more mental, maybe except for golf.
Yes.
than
Yeah.
baseball. right? I mean, it is for these guys, and it's the most routine of all sports. It's 162 games, and so to that end, these players are conditioned a certain way, and even if you know it's not a demotion, it's clearly not a demotion, right? We know you're hitting the ball well. You could sell it to Bryson all you want. Mentally, he's like thinking, I know it's not a demotion, but I'm waiting, and now I'm batting 8th.
Isn't benching him or platooning him a demotion? Hey, you're good enough to bat leadoff for us against right-handed pitching, but you're out of the lineup.
Don't
that
you
may
have
be
to
a little
know,
bit.
I need you to do this today.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of a stomach swallow. Like, all right, I got it.
Sure.
I don't feel good about this, but I got it. If I'm riding the pine because they need Sosa in, and then we need your bat later.
I think of our conversation with Jeff Francoeur. He said, I don't like platooning where one guy bats second against one pitcher and then bats 8th against the next pitcher because you're telling me we think you're good enough at one, but you're definitely not good enough at the other. Same thing kind of goes with platooning in terms of the mental games. Hey, you're good enough to be our leadoff hitter.
But then mentally, can't you just be like, if I was better against whatever I'm not good at, then I wouldn't put them in this position.
I had a couple scouts once at spring training talking, and they're like, remember that baseball players, and they did not mean this as a slam. They just meant it as coping mechanisms to the mental part of it. They are the least educated pro athletes.
Because they can go straight from high school.
Correct. And that many of them didn't go through they literally got thrown to the wolves. Hey, go live away from home. Go do that.
Yeah.
Go do that.
There's a very high level of adversity that they would have had to face to try to make it.
Yeah, especially your first-round pick. Right now, you're going to be the guy.
You're the guy.
You're thinking,
you're saving our franchise.
And you were awesome in high school, and now you're going to the middle of nowhere to play against grown men.
You're going to Iowa.
Grown men.
Right, exactly.
And you're 17, 18 years old. Yeah, I mean, it's a big comeuppance. But I think that mentally, these guys are prepared for it. They've already had the conversations. It's not new to Bryson Stott, wherever he is. For him, I don't know that you bat him leadoff in this situation, but it would be tough to drop him to 8.
Yeah, and that's the way it would be.
Something to keep an eye on today, too, because the Phils are in the middle of a stretch of 16 games, 16 days. It could be one of those weird, like Sosa for Turner days, Sosa for Bohm days.
Right, just to get a little rest in there.
Yeah, you're going to start seeing as we get deeper into the stretch of games where there are going to be guys that are hitting well that do get the day off just to get the day off.
So Turner will be back in the leadoff spot today, right? It'll be the Turner, Harper. Who's 3? Is Bohm 3?
Castellanos. He's been swinging it too well.
Castellanos 3, Schwarber 4. And
JT 5.
Yeah, he's been swinging the bat well. And then you do Bohm or Kepler at 6. And then we'll see how Bohm does. He had the knock yesterday. All right, it is 9:48. Time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. 3 best minutes from today's show.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Johnny, good morning.
And a good morning to you, my friend.
We are 8 days away from the NFL draft, a draft that I am very excited about for the Philadelphia Eagles because I have no idea the direction that they're going to go. I have feelings and beliefs because they've never really hid their feelings and beliefs come draft day, right? Especially in the first round. They believe in building through the trenches. But in a draft like this for the Eagles where they literally could go in so many different directions, whether it's trading up, trading back, staying at 32, and then, of course, the positions that they could draft. We all know about their love of the trenches, but they need a safety. They need a tight end. We talked about cornerback a little bit yesterday, and you had the Consumer Sports, Thomas Dimitrov, saying that cornerback could be the BPA, best player available, maybe around that 32nd pick yesterday. So it's exciting for me. I understand people love when the draft is a top 10 pick. I get it.
I don't, because it meant I had a crappy fall.
Unless you're the Eagles who had 2 picks in the first round.
Well, I mean, if I have a crappy fall, I don't like it. This would be the best scenario every year for me, where the back end of the first round.
Pick 32. That means they won the Super Bowl. Absolutely. We know that they have a lot of areas that they do need to address. Think about the players that have parted ways. You need an edge rusher.
Yep.
You need a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
You need a tight end.
Yeah.
Cornerback is an area where you might want to look, but there are a lot of areas of need for the Eagles because they lost key players. So what position is most important for the Eagles to hit on in this specific draft, in your opinion, John?
I don't even think it's close. They got to have somebody riding shotgun to Jalen Carter. They have to find a way to replace Milton Williams.
Yeah.
Period. It's so obvious by the way that they built their team and what they've always preached. It would be a curveball if they did anything different. And that's where I've been trying to talk myself out of the best player available stuff.
Right.
The Eagles are going to draft for need.
Yeah, and look, this is the big defensive tackle draft. So, again, signs point to that. They need a replacement to Milton Williams, right? I'm not ready to be like, here you go, Moro Ojomo. Like,
No.
You know, that's 48% of the snaps because Jordan Davis is not a full-time player. So you look at the player they lost at Milton Williams. You look at the depth at that position right now. It needs to be added to. You look at the depth of this draft when it comes to that position. And then, oh, by the way, when it goes back to beliefs and feels, this is what the organization believes in. The organization believes in drafting in the trenches, defensive line. Now, that also means edge rushers. And if you look over the 14 years of Howie Roseman drafting, we went through this on NBC Sports Philadelphia the other day. Edge rusher has still been the number one position that Howie Roseman has targeted over the last 14 years. But this time around, to me, all signs point to defensive tackle. And I agree with you. I believe that's the most important position where they need to hit on when it comes to this specific draft. From ESPN, our man Adam Schefter. Shefty, good morning.
I think that they're absolutely open to it, and you got to find somebody that would be willing to trade for them, and they've been open to dealing them all along, and nothing's materialized. So, I guess somebody may come up a tight end short in the draft. Somebody may be looking for a pass rusher at some point during the draft. I don't know how much you're going to get back, on Bryce Huff. I don't know that. And Dallas Goedert, I don't think they're going to waver on. Like, they're going to be pretty firm in what they want back. So, look, eventually when there's enough smoke, usually you get something. Next week is the week you get something. So it's in play, but it's just not simple to get done.
Tim Kurkjian joins us. Tim, good morning. How are we today?
If I were a Philly fan, I'd be feeling really good about things right now. I mean, Alec Boehm hit 8 last night. He's hitting under 200. Trey Turner really hasn't gotten it going yet. Brandon Marsh is like 4 for 40. Those things are going to change, and this is going to be a really good offensive team very soon. And the starting pitching is going to be able to match up with just about any in baseball once everyone gets healthy and gets going in the right direction.
I hate dealing in feelings. I like dealing in beliefs, but it is hard when you deal with this. But I believe one thing, and I'm totally convinced. The Eagles do not draft best player available. And I can go back years now, 4 years, at least since they fixed the draft. They didn't draft best player available. They drafted need.
All right, that is the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show. Amy, we will be talking to you again next week.
Next week, I'll be back on Tuesday.
We're looking forward to it.
Me too.
Will we see you on TV in the interim?
Yes, you will. Not actually. I'm going. It's spring break, so I am going away for a little bit at the end of the season. So I'm just going to see my parents with the boys, and then I'm back on Monday. Oh, next week is just draft. So I'm on
so much fun.
Like a lot of Birds Huddle, NBC 10, NBC Sportsnet Central. I'll be on all week.
Well, then Tuesday we're expecting a ton of draft content.
Yeah, we'll have a lot.
Which is why
deep diving in.
I want to quickly get you on the record here, because the NBA playoffs will begin this weekend.
Correct.
Anything sticking out to you in the first round where you go, that could be an upset? Like, I'm eyeing up this Lakers T-Wolves series.
The West
I like the
is
Lakers
crazy.
in it.
The West is absolutely crazy. I think the East, the Pacers taking down the Bucks is a real possibility.
Especially if Lillard's still out.
And I think the Pistons giving the Knicks all they can handle.
I can't wait to see that. That's the series.
That's going to be
really,
a very good
that's
series.
Gonna be a fun
The Pistons
series.
are such an amazing story this year.
Yeah.
That's fun to watch.
I think the Knicks pull it out because Jalen Brunson is just Jalen Brunson, but I think that's going to be a really good
Any
series.
chance that the very young, talented, very young Rockets have little issues with the experienced Golden State Warriors with a guy that can just put up 60 whenever he wants?
The problem is no one else can put up any other points on that one as much as Jimmy Butler wants to put Jimmy Butler.
5 for Rockets?
Yeah, gentleman's sweep.
Okay. Lastly, does the firing of Michael Malone do anything for the Nuggets?
No.
I'm going with the beard.
It may backfire.
Beard and the clip and around.
Oh, no, you aren't.
Yes, I am.
Really?
Yeah, Kawhi's been
I like that
playing good
Clippers
basketball
team a
too.
lot.
Can we bet a breakfast
I
on
think
that?
Yes.
I think the
All right, we're
Clips
betting a
win,
breakfast on that.
which is incredible.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because James Harden.
It travels
Never-
safely, Amy.
Thank you all.
Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, Window Nation, and make a donation today to the AACR. They help cancer patients like myself live. 975thefanatic.com/AACR. Cancer research saves lives.
All right, everybody have a great rest of your day. Mike Missanelli Show comes your way next. Don't forget, 10 o'clock is also your next chance to win $1,000. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, which is 1 week away from the NFL draft. And, of course, Andrew DeCecco will join us in studio for 2 hours. Talk to you tomorrow here on 97.5 The Fanatic.